All right, it's Monday. I'm a little bit early, but I was sitting here working anyway, and I thought, why not just go ahead and get this started? And we will see. I see Mac posted something at like one. So, hi, Mac, whenever. Uh, right now, I am leaving some vampires for Vampire the Eternal Struggle that came in a I don't know, like a collector's set. There's some characters that you can only get in certain ways, and these are some of them. They're all Anarch characters, so they'll go into their respective decks. So, like here, I've got Leah Mia. She is the Anarch Baron of Canberra, Bruja, with 6 blood pool. So, and these are all Group 6 characters. Hey, Robert, how you doing? These are all Group 6 characters, which means you can put them in a deck with Group 5s or Group 7s. If you're playing tournament, if you're just playing at home, you can put them in, do whatever you want. Like the original characters from the original Vampire the Masquerade, they're still playable. They're just Group 1 or 2, depending. So when you build your crypt, if you want it to be tournament legal, which who cares that much about it, but if you do, you just make sure that you only put in that particular group of vampires. Now, the reason being that each group represents like a different kind of era or whatever of the game. So group 1 represents old school Vampire the Masquerade. And group 2 and 3, that's all old school Masquerade. And then like group 4, 5, and 6, that's kind of the switch over from old school Masquerade to the new 5th edition canon story. So one thing about the later groups is rarely will you find elders with 10, 11 blood pool. They do exist. They're just very rare. And that has to do with the fact that according to the lore, most of the elders, not Eldar, have been drawn by the beckoning to the Middle East. And as of yet, none have returned. So that's what's going on with that. Also doing a little organizing because I can always afford to do a little organizing because my room is a wreck. It is a wreck of projects scattered around that I mean to get done, and yet a lot of the times they just end up sitting. Put my hat on. Fits better now that I buzzed my head. Okay, so I am looking for not natural steel. I'm looking for black. I've got this guy, and his shield is a black and yellow shield, which seems to be one of my favorite color combinations, just because I use it so much. And I want a gray pile of shame. Yeah. Well, my pile of shame isn't gray. My pile of shame is like a multitude of colors because it's like hundreds of miniatures, all half done, So at some point, well, I mean, Robert has seen it. At some point, it's like, just finish it. Finish something. Finish something. a new head of hair, Norse mythology reference. I get it. Sif, after Loki cut off her hair, they had to petition the Vargar to make new hair for her. And they did, out of some kind of enchanted living gold. So last night we played our first game of the One Ring, and I don't know how the players felt about the story. It seems like they were enjoying it a lot, but they certainly caught on to the rules pretty quick. You know, it was like I explained them, and after I've explained how the rules worked, you know, a couple of rolls into the game, and they were all set. So that is, it's always good when people, you know, you play with, they actually pick the rules up. As a matter of fact, they picked up rules I didn't pick up, but they picked them up on accident, but they still picked them up. Like I had forgot to mention to them that their virtues could be, yeah, wouldn't that be neat if you guys logged on and you saw me and I had long, lustrous golden hair? You guys would be like, what's going on here? Damn. But they, during one of the rolls, I think it was Hungar, was making an awareness check or something like that. And he was like, hey, my character's distinctive feature is he's very wary. Shouldn't that do something? And I was like, it does. I remember that it does. And then I just quickly looked and I was like, yeah, because you're very wary and you're doing an awareness check to try and see if somebody's trying to sneak up on you in the woods, you get a bonus skill die. And so awesome, you know, that was really cool. And then after the other players saw that was how virtues worked, then they started using virtues as well. Like, you know, my character is eagle-eyed, so if I'm doing a, you know, a scan check, you know, an awareness check, looking out for stuff, do I get an extra die because I'm eagle-eyed? And I'm like, well, because you're using vision, yes, you do, you know. So there was a lot of stuff like that, you know, a lot of stuff like that. That because the One Ring is really simple, but at the same time, it can be really crunchy depending on just how the players want to play it. You know, if they want to play it by, you know, spending hope and using fortune points and this and that, then some people might consider it to be just a little bit on the crunchy side. Personally, I don't, but you know, that's just me. It just makes the game interesting, in my opinion, because there's just a lot that can happen, you know. So they've journeyed into the wilderness and they're hiding out in a ruined, burnt down, whatever farmhouse. And they know that there's trolls in the area. So they're basically waiting for nightfall. And usually the trolls would be the ones to ambush the travelers. But in this case, all the players are waiting to ambush the trolls. A game inspired by the Northman, probably go with BRP. That would work. And the Northman was an amazing movie. And I don't know if you're the one that told me to watch it or who told me to watch it. I finally watched Vikings, the Russian movie about Vladimir the Great, and it was really good. It was really good. So that's like two Russian movies I've watched recently that have been incredibly good. No, well, kind of. They're hiding underneath a ruined tower from who knows when, an ancient tower, and they're in the tower. That's where they live. But the upper floor of the tower is so just rubbled it down and everything, that there's like gaps where they can look out. So they saw the adventurers walk up the trail, look around for a little while, and then go to make camp in the farmhouse. So the trolls know they're in the farmhouse and have decided to wait until nightfall, obviously, to attack, because sunlight will turn them into stone, and they don't like that. Worst of all, though, is the three trolls have a mother, and she's hiding in the lake and waiting for somebody to. Wolfhound, I might have seen it. Waiting for somebody to come too close to the lake so she can snatch them in and drown them. Yeah, Kirk Douglas and Tony Curtis. The one I'm talking about was made in Russia in 2016. And it basically, fantastically, I guess, I don't know how it's a historical drama, let's say. Like, all the people involved were real, and the things that happened for the most part were real, but they may have took some liberties telling the story. Russian superhero movie. Are you talking about Night Watch and Day Watch? Where you have like the different factions that are constantly trying to keep things neutral, like the Night Watch are the good guys that watch the evil beings, and then the Day Watch, which was not as good of a movie, are the bad guys that watched the good guys to make sure that the truce was being kept. Yeah, Vladimir of Novgorod, pronounced in Russian for whatever reason with O's wherever there's a vowel. So Vladimir of Novgorod, who eventually killed his brother, he killed his one brother. He killed a bunch of different guys. He warred with the Penichegs. He defended Kiev against the Penichegs, and then eventually allied with the Romans, which is what the Byzantine called themselves. And he helped them in a civil war to liberate a city that is on what is now the peninsula of Crimea. And while he was there, he ended up converting to Christianity. And then, even though it took some doing, all of his followers ended up converting to Christianity. And then he marched his army back north to Kiev, which was the capital of the Kievan Rus. And the people there accepted Christ, and they took their old Slavic idols, which were like big totem pole things, and they like burned them or buried them or something. And that's why Vladimir the Great is called Vladimir the Great, or Vladimir. Soviet Avengers, never saw it, but it's a really good movie. I mean, we're so used to Hollywood, but the Russian movie, even with subtitles or capture or whatever English, it was still really well done, and it was pretty hardcore. Like, some shit went down that was like, oh my God, I don't know if you'd ever see this in a Western movie, And Vladimir, 80% of the movie, he is not a good guy. I mean, he is definitely not a good guy. He is, I mean, you can't say he's a bad guy either. He's just basically a guy living in that time that way, So he of course brings back the god of his fathers, which they, put in the center of town, and that god requires human blood, so there's human sacrifice. And of course, he goes to, at one point, he goes to woo some woman and she insults him. So he conquers the castle, wipes most of the people there out, and then forces her parents to watch as he sleeps with her, claims her as his wife, and then kills her parents. Yeah, that's what Vladimir was up to before, you know. The one I'm talking about is not black and white, and it's also available on YouTube. It was made in like 2016 or so, 2013. And yeah, it's not black and white. It's like for real a modern movie. The Scythian, I'll have to look for it. Now I know you can find on YouTube, if you're interested, you can find the story of Ilya Muromets. That's on there, and that's really cool. And there's another one that's about this one Russian guy that decides to fight a war against the Mongols. And in the end, he dies, but he's such a hero that the Mongol Khan has him buried, like with all the honors and everything, just because of how, you know, brave they were. And even though they were outnumbered 100-1, they fought to the death, you know, and they killed so many Mongols. And it was like, holy shit, you know what I mean? And apparently that's based on a true story, you know? So, yeah. So who knew that the Russians were making some pretty damn good movies? Not me, not I. I did not know. But yes, the Russians are making some pretty good damn movies. And Viking, or The Northman with Skarsgård, I've watched that movie like 6 times. That movie is so, it's so good. It's kind of trippy. It's like, you know, it's like, it really captures the idea of like 6th century, 7th century, whenever, Scandinavia, maybe more like 8th or 9th century, really, because they are raiding the Russians in that time. So maybe 9th century. But, and that one's another one that holds no bars. You know, it holds nothing back. It shows you exactly the way shit was. I remember when that movie came out and the usual suspects were all bitching that there wasn't any diversity. And the guy who was making the movie was like, I hear you, but this is a movie set in like the 9th century in Scandinavia and Russia. How much diversity did you think there would be? You know? And he stuck to his guns, and good for him. He stuck to his guns, and he was like, no, I'm not going to throw random dark-skinned people in this movie to make you happy. It's not happening, because this is not that kind of movie. And the Russian movies, for the most part, are the same. You know, if you want, well, no, the Russian movies I'm talking about are diverse movies, because the Penichegs are, in fact, played by Mongol steppe-looking people, you know. But all of the Rus and the Slavs are played by Russian people. So everything is as it should be, you know. Crazy movie Bloody Mama with Shelley Winters, Robert De Niro's first movie. Never seen it. I don't know if I would see it because I'm mad at Robert De Niro. And it pisses me off because I loved Goodfellas. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. But Robert De Niro is just like, he has been such an asshole lately that it's hard for me to even watch him in a movie. And I try so hard to separate the artist from the art. But sometimes it's just like, I'm watching a movie and I can't help but think about the shit he says and does. And I'm just like, what an asshole, you know? Like, why? You're a multimillionaire. You live in, like, I don't know, multimillionaire land, California. Why do you got to run your mouth about shit? And I'm not saying that just because you're an actor and a multimillionaire, you shouldn't have free speech. What I'm saying is, just because you have free speech doesn't mean it's always smart to use that free speech. Sometimes it's more intelligent to do as the mobster says in the videos I always tell you guys to watch, and shut your mouth and listen to the silence. You know what I mean? And if you're an actor, making an ass out of yourself and pissing off at least 75 million people, and you can go ahead and probably double that because, it just seems like a bad move, Like Ziegler's learning. She ran her mouth and Disney made her post a kind of an apology. It's not really an apology, but kind of an apology. She wasn't in her right mind at the time, kind of thing. And I'm all like, right, whatever, But, yeah. I don't want to remember. I want to remember Robert De Niro as Jimmy from the Goodfellas. You know what I mean? Jimmy, he couldn't join the mob because he was Irish, but everybody still loved him. And, that's how I want to remember De Niro. That's the De Niro I want. Or even the dancing around in dresses in Stardust. I'll even take that De Niro. But the De Niro standing in New York talking a bunch of shit outside the courthouse and just constantly running his mouth, I'm not a fan of that De Niro. Especially when he's wrong and he has to know he's wrong, Like, he has to know it. So it's like, okay, if you're trying to virtue signal, you're virtue signaling to people who will never watch your movie. Like a hardcore soy boy leftist is not going to watch a De Niro action film like Heat or Goodfellas or whatever. They're just not going to watch it. You know what I mean? It's just not their style of movie. They're more interested in The Notebook or I don't know, Birds of Prey or some shit like that. And that's fine. Whatever you like is fine. But, how are you going to pretend to be a tough guy in all of your movies and then be such a bitch in real life? Basically, I guess what I'm saying is De Niro shattered my view of him, the whole concept of what De Niro was. It's been shattered to the point that now I'm like, just, I just don't know what to do about him. And like I said, to me, it's sad because a lot of his old movies, like Taxi Driver and stuff, are absolute works of art. You know what I mean? They're genius movies. And he was an amazing actor in those movies. I mean, it cannot be argued, right? De Niro was a great actor. Godfather and all that. Like, he was just such a great actor. And in his old age, he's turned into such a pussy that it's just like, I'm like, yeah, And then, hey, how you doing, Les?
Oh, good.
What's new?
Not much.
It's kind of like I can buy a book written by somebody that I know is like, a hater, and it doesn't bother me because I'm reading the book, but I'm not looking at the writer, if you get what I'm saying. So if I'm reading a King Ronin book written by Chris Pramas, I can kind of ignore the fact that it was written by Chris Pramas.
I can do that with the old Batman cartoon or
Right.
some other things.
Right. You just watch and enjoy it. You're not
Oh,
seeing the actual creator.
I can't say the same for the new Batman cartoon, the Cape Crusader. That was just trash.
Right.
And the
But
sad part, it was made by the same guy who made the old Batman cartoon. Hey, Hungar.
What's up, fools?
But yeah, that's my problem though with De Niro or any actor is when they piss you off, it becomes impossible to separate the art from the artist because you're looking at him all the time.
I think you can do
the whole
it
time you
to a
sit
certain
down
point.
to watch Goodfellas, Heat, whatever movie we're talking about, there he is.
Yeah, and I really liked The Irishman until he went massive TDR.
Right. It's
I
like
used to like the old Star Wars trilogy, but now I can't watch it anymore.
Lord of
Right.
the Rings is better than Star Wars, and I will die on that hill.
I don't blame you. I'll say that now because I don't watch Lord of the Rings, but it's still got to be better than Star Wars now.
You didn't watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
No,
Probably,
I don't know what it was.
Probably one of the best trilogies ever made.
I know.
well, Les,
Everybody
now
says
you know what your homework is.
it. Why do you watch Lord of the Rings?
And believe me, just watch the normal ones first because if I gave you your homework to watch the extended cut, we wouldn't see you for a week. Because each one of the 3 movies with all the extended shit is like 16 hours long.
Oh no, thanks.
I'm over exaggerating, but they're freaking long, you
A
know?
good 12 hours.
Yeah, all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to spend a long time. I mean, if you watch the ones they released in the studio or in the theaters, then they're like 2.5 hours each.
Yeah, that's
3
not
But
hours.
if you watch the director's cuts, they're like 4.5 hours.
But they're
And
worth
the
it.
director's cuts are really movies that are made for Tolkien freaks.
Should I watch the Bakshi cartoon?
I would. I love the Bakshi cartoon.
I hear like people say Bakshi had some really good points that the movies didn't, and the movies had good points that the Bakshi film didn't.
I own
Well-
all of the cartoons and all of the movies, and they're like the only movies and cartoons I own.
Yeah, and the like Rankin Bass ones are kind of stupid, but they're still kind of cool
Oh,
in
that's
their
sad
own
because
kind of way.
I mean I like the
Come on.
Rankin Bass Christmas specials.
Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Right. Well, that was the thing in Tolkien, though. There's a lot of singing in Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was singing. Like when the Fellowship arrives in Rivendell, the elves are singing. You know,
The dwarf song in the cartoon is the best rendition that there is for.
oh, the one where they're singing over misty mountains cold.
Oh, man. I'm kind of glad that Christmas is coming soon because I might watch some old Rankin Bass cartoons now.
Well, yeah, they used to a ton of stuff, but anyway, should you watch Bakshi's Return of the King or Lord of the Rings? Yes.
I'm watching.
It does some things, in my opinion, far better than Peter Jackson did, and it does some things worse than Peter Jackson did.
That's what I hear about
will
it.
say this: the Bakshi films were the Bakshi film was slightly more close to the book than Peter Jackson, who was pretty much very close to the book.
Hmm.
Like
I would stay away
Aragorn
from the Hobbit,
in
though.
the Bakshi movie, Aragorn's kind of ugly. You know, he's got like leather, sunburnt face.
He looks foul but feels fair.
You know, and he's like wearing his cloak, and like he goes by the name of Strider, and like everyone in Bree is suspicious of him because you know he's one of those Rangers of the North, you know, and all that.
Yeah.
Because that's how Aragorn was in the books. He was not a handsome man. Viggo Mortensen, you could say, is a relatively handsome man. Aragorn was not, but he was a really good man. Also, he was almost 7 feet tall. In the book, Aragorn was like, I don't know, 6.5, 6'7".
Yeah, and he was 80-something years old.
Yeah, he's 88, almost 90. And that's in the beginning of the thing. But don't worry, he lived to be 300 plus. I read that Christopher Lee knew Tolkien and read The Lord of the Rings once a year. I would believe that only because Christopher Lee is a gift from God to humanity.
I like
And
Christopher Lee
everyone
also.
should think about him every now and then and just thank the Lord that he existed. And he made so many Hammer horror films.
And
so
he had
enjoy those.
He had a metal Christmas album.
He did.
Oh, neat. That's cool.
Before he died, he told the Catholic University in Ireland to avoid the occult at all costs because nothing good was from there. And he also put to bed the rumor that he had a collection of occult books. He does not.
George Lucas was telling him how to wield a lightsaber, and Christopher Lee looked him right in the eyes and was like, George, have you ever killed a man?
Yeah,
I have.
Yeah, that was when they're saying, when you stab this guy in the back, make this, noise like, and Christopher Lee's like, that's not what the noise a man makes when you stab him that way.
Yeah.
And the director was like, shit.
Shit. Well, let's just go with what he says.
It was like, well, the guy, first off, he's like 6.5 feet tall. He was pretty fit till the day he died. And he was in the British Special Air Services. So they would sneak into Germany to like sabotage shit and kidnap Germans.
Now that I think about it,
back for questioning.
When Christopher Lee played in Star Wars, all he did was play Dracula as if he was a Sith.
Oh, who doesn't love Count Dooku? Count Dooku.
I know, but that's what he did.
Well, I mean, that's why I said thank God for Christopher Lee and all of those Hammer horror films. Because
yeah, I know. It works well.
Anytime you're bored, go online, look up a Hammer horror film. It can be like The Satanic Ritual of Dracula or the Lusty Brides of Dracula. It's always something of Dracula. And it's always Christopher Lee. What's his name?
Peter Cushing. Also, you were wrong. That wasn't Star Wars, which he did that with. That was actually in Lord of the Rings.
Right. What were you going to say, Bear?
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing, the guy who was also in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And like sometimes Peter Cushing is Dracula. And sometimes Christopher Lee is Dracula.
I think there's only one where they do that, where they switch their roles, where they swip it off. It's a good one, too.
And then they also do Sherlock Holmes movies, and sometimes one's a doctor and one's Holmes. It's like those two dudes are in a lot of movies.
Wasn't Christopher Lee in one of the Wicker Man movies?
He is in the original good Wicker Man.
He's in Wicker Man, the original movie.
Yeah. Oh, come on. I like the new one. Just because it has Nicolas Cage in it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, but the new Wicker Man you watch because it's a comedy.
Oh, I know.
The old Wicker Man was supposed to be a little bit more serious, and they took it a little bit more serious.
I get that.
Oh, shit. David Prowse.
Her name. Tell me her name.
Wow, David Prowse. So that was the guy that played Vader. But
Vader. Sorry, Vader. Yeah, Vader.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's got to be 60 or 100 Hammer films. They made so many. It's like, I think they were all made in like Britain, and they were just cranking them things out.
Well, Ingrid Pitt stopped making movies for a while because she was tired of being cast as lesbian vampire.
I like lesbian vampires.
That's one thing about the 70s. They were not afraid to show boobs, too.
All lesbian vampire needs is some good deep staking.
I mean, you watch those Hammer horror films, and you are guaranteed to see some boobs. You're going to see boobs. It's a thing. You're going to see them because
half of Vampire the Masquerade just lesbian vampires.
Maybe. I mean, whatever, right?
It was the 90s. Bisexuality was very chic for women.
Yeah, I didn't know that she was bi, but I didn't know she meant bipolar.
Oh,
right?
Want it to
You gotta
come
watch
out?
those.
I'm not joking.
I didn't think you were.
I think you missed your calling, Hungar. You should have been a Catskills comedian in the 1960s.
Right? Right? He could entertain all the rich Jewish people who were
Yep.
going up to the Catskills for their vacations.
Another thing, but bump.
I like the Christopher Lee and the man with the go. Oh, I mean,
Scaramanga.
Christopher
Oh.
Lee is amazing in every movie.
Man
That's
of
why
culture
I
there.
said we should thank the Lord that Christopher Lee existed. He was
doesn't-
truly an awesome human being.
Who
Like,
doesn't love James Bond?
Right.
Another
but
Christopher from the similar era that doesn't get as much love is Christopher Plummer, and he was really good too.
Yeah, but Christopher Lee is like the modern day version of Alexander the Great.
We had a
Hey,
metal
James.
band.
Who's your favorite Bond?
Oh,
Connery.
I'm gonna say definitely Bond, James Bond. Yeah,
Fuck.
the
Okay,
original.
fair. I do kind of like Pierce Brosnan though. He was pretty good.
Pierce Brosnan was a good
Alright.
Bond,
But Connery,
but for
man.
me, I like the original, even though he was a Scotsman. I mean, you know, he had what the Bond thing was all about.
That
I don't
is
know. I
fair.
like George Lazenby's movie. Her
But
Majesty's Secret Service. I thought Lazenby did a good job.
You know, I do wish that the GoldenEye game actually allowed for multiple Bonds in it, like they were planning. That would have been cool.
I was not a huge fan of Dalton.
Dalton had bad scripts.
Yeah, and I just didn't think he was Bond.
Now, I don't think Grace
Brosnan
Jones
could be
should have ever
Bond.
been a Bond girl.
Who?
Grace Jones.
I love that movie. View to a Kill? What are you talking about?
Oh, the main
No.
bad guy's Christopher Lee or
Yeah, Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
wow.
Grace Jones was not hot enough to be a Bond girl.
But she's not
Grace
the Bond
Jones
girl.
was a
That's the point.
supermodel.
She was A, she was a supermodel, and B, she was the assassin. She wasn't the Bond girl. Like, that's the thing. Everybody thinks every woman who's in a Bond film is a Bond girl. No, the
No.
Bond girl is a specific character in the film. Holly Goodnight, what's her name?
It's
Pussy
the
Galore.
lady who basically Bond gets with,
Octopussy.
or tries
Yeah.
to get with at least. I think.
Or gets killed after Bond gets with her. Right?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. Grace Jones was
Like in
the
Nightfire, they had two Bond girls
assassin,
because
who
one
could
dies
kill
and the other one
you.
comes and takes her place.
But before she got in the movies, believe it or not, Grace Jones was a supermodel.
Hmm.
And if you look at her body, look at her. She is freaking fit.
All right, fine. But who's your favorite Bond girl? Of all the Bond girls, which
The
one's the one
one
that
with
most
the
sends you?
octopus, definitely.
From Octopussy?
Yep.
Oh, who is she? If she's your favorite, come on, man.
I don't know her name. I just know I thought she was super hot. Yeah. Yeah,
Octopussy.
and I'm standing on that. Yeah, I'm remembering the movie because he had to jump out of her apartment and get on a boat, and like there was a big boat race or chase. Yeah, her. I think that's Roger Moore, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been so long since I've watched a Bond movie. Yeah,
mine's
yeah,
always gonna be
you're
Queen
right.
of
You're
England.
right, Prime. That was a great era. You had Christopher Lee, Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, and they were doing all these spooky movies, Lovecraftian movies, and I mean, it was just
What is the name of the guy who hosts the horror show in the movie Fright Night?
the Crypt Keeper.
No, in the movie Fright Night, the old British Hammer film type star that hosts the movie channel, the movie show about horror films is Peter.
Oh shit!
Vincent.
Are you talking about the guy that played the ape
Roddy McDowall.
in the original
Yeah,
Planet
Roddy
of the Apes?
McDowell, and he plays a character called Peter Vincent after Peter Cushing and Vincent Price.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I love both versions of it. The old one with what's her name's brother in it as the vampire, and the new one with the Irish guy as the vampire.
I didn't care for that one as much, the new one.
I mean,
The remake, it was whatever.
it had Tennant in it as the guy.
Yeah, I thought Tenet was good.
Huh?
I thought Tenet was good.
Yeah, instead of Rodney McDowell had Tennant, but still, it was. I liked it. I thought it was enjoyable. It was watchable. It was,
Doc,
Hey, Doc.
What's up, Doc? How you doing, bro?
what's up, Doc?
Oh my God, what a fucking day I've had.
Doc,
I
what
am
can I do
sorry
you
to
head,
hear that,
Doc?
bro.
Yeah.
I just had like an hour and a half long screaming argument with my bank on the phone.
Oh, that's fine.
What'd they do?
They have this bad machine in town. It's the only one in town. It ate my card because the touchscreen failed. This was 2 weeks ago. 3 times they told me they replaced my card and didn't put it through.
Oh God.
Now rent's late, so the mortgage is going to have a late penalty. I don't have money for gas for work tomorrow, and I finally got them to manually do a Zelle to get the rent through. So I'm not on the street.
Yeah.
And,
I'm sorry, man.
It's like I had to scream and yell at this guy to do it. It's like you guys have lied to me over and over again, telling me this was done and it wasn't. You were just fucking me. You were like putting me in the position of almost being fucking homeless and without a job.
At this point, find a new bank.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that. It's like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're sorry about that. I'm more sorry. I want to bet. I'm sorry. I don't need to like go off on you guys. It's just oh my God.
It's like, if you're sorry about, fix it, fuckhead.
Get a new bank.
They're such greedy fucks. Banks are such greedy fucks.
I
Yeah.
know.
I
I'm
thought
sorry to go off on this.
because I had an overdraw.
from this.
And I said, why did you take the things out the way you did, even though they're not chronologically in order? And they took the things out the way they did so they could hit me with more late fees.
Yeah. Oh, if you fuck up,
Overdraws.
they're on that shit.
Because if they had took them out in chronological order, I would have got one overdraw. But because they took them out, they took like one from like a month ago first, it caused me to have like 5 of them. And I was arguing with them. I was like, and the lady on the phone said, yeah, we do that on purpose. And I'm like,
Just
that's
admit it.
fucked up.
That is fucked
It's
up.
like, so basically, you're getting ready to rip me off. And I've been with your bank for like 30 years and you're going to do it anyway. I was like, that's messed up. I don't like that.
So you guys need to understand the first rule of banking, right? They make
They're
no money
usually
off of you.
bastard.
Well, they make no money off of you. Therefore, the money that you give them, their services they offer you, is something they're forced to do. Therefore,
Actually,
they try
they
to make
do
it as
make money off
inconvenient
of
as
you.
possible. They do not, sir. I guarantee you, ever since Glass-Steagall, banks make
Oh no, they don't serve
fucking
you.
percentage point off your fucking paycheck. Trust me. They make their
know,
money off of the shit they do on the higher level where they're dealing in hundreds of millions of dollars, not your fucking $1,200 paycheck. Trust me, man. There's a huge expose about it in Canada where they dug into it to show.
Yeah, they give
I
no
use
shits.
Chime. And
I
don't
think
have
I'm gonna have to get off here for now. I'll see you.
Later, Lev.
I see you later.
Bye-bye.
Lev.
I use Chime from my bank. It gets all my direct deposits, and I have no overdraft fee.
That's
Well, I
nice.
know what Bear's saying. I know what Let's saying too, because if you put like 100 grand in your bank account, say you're so lucky, they will invest that money.
Yep.
And then you get like 0.00%, but they get whatever,
But the thing is that that amount of money that they get off your 100K is fucking peanuts compared to the amount of money they're making off of their higher level investments. It's
Right.
like fucking Coke money for them. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing for them. They hate us. They don't want to deal with us, and they're forced to by the government have savings accounts and checking accounts for non-business customers, and they fucking hate us for it. They can't stand us.
Right. Because we're just a pain in their ass.
Why do you think they have 6 tellers stations and 1 teller working?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
a savings and loan. This is supposedly a member bank, but I mean, it's all the same shit.
It's all the same
Yeah,
shit.
if they could figure out a way to not have to serve the public, they probably would.
Well, that's because of fucking Clinton and Glass-Steagall. Because these fuckers were making money off of us, not as much as they wanted, before they were suddenly allowed to do all the bullshit Glass-Steagall got rid of and allowed them to do. And then suddenly they started making stupid money, and they went, well, fuck these fucking $12 an hour, $15 an hour fucking bohunks. They can all eat my dick. You know,
Yeah,
that's how they
'cause
felt about it.
It used to be banking and investment banking were two different things,
Different
and
beasts.
they could not interchange them. They had to be completely separate businesses. And they're like, no, you don't have to do that anymore. That's silly.
Look at all the service charges that came in the 90s.
Well, they were charging
Everything
you a
you
service
did.
charge for farting in the bank.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
Well, my Merrill Lynch account is different than my bank account.
That's a whole different.
But my Merrill Lynch account is at my bank.
Yeah, but you notice when you walk in there, that dude has his own office. He's not. It's like he works at your bank, but he does not work for your bank.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because I have not Merrill Lynch, whatever it is, that I put money in for my IRA, and he explained that shit to me. He's like, I might work here, but I don't work for them. You know, it's like they give me this office because they want their customers to have access to this thing, but we're not actually affiliated with them. Which mine. Soon, it's like after you get a certain amount of money, they actually assign a trader to you personally.
Yeah, I know. It's at Merrill Lynch. It's if you invest $25,000,
Yeah, it's like 25K or something.
and then you have your own trader. You got his number and everything. You can call him and tell him what you want him to do, or how you can be a little risky for the next 6 months, and then go back to very.
See, I'm terrified of it, so I
Yeah.
told my guy to be safe.
Yeah, but the thing is, when their big business accounts lose money, they just swap the shit out and dump it on somebody else.
When I did some risky, and I lost like $9,000.
Well, yeah,
What?
because like South Park even did an episode about it when like
And it's
Stan
gone.
took his money to the bank
And it's gone.
and it's gone. And he's like,
And
what?
it's- Yeah, that South Park episode hit me where it hurt, dude.
So I told the guy, if you're going to invest in shit, it has to be super safe. I don't want to lose a nickel. But on the other side, I make $1.25 in interest.
Yeah, I lost a lot of nickels.
Whatever,
But
This is
you can't win if you don't try.
Well, yeah, I guess. But I mean, the system is not really set up for people like us to win. If you want to win, you got to be able to drop like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh man, it's just my freaking heart is still pounding from this. It's
From
just,
the anger?
Yeah, just that, and just the
Woosah it out,
frustration is
bro.
it's
Yep.
like you
Woosah.
guys, you're like going to destroy my life because you're just
woosah it out.
bullshitting me. And it's like, oh my god! I mean, I would have taken the day off and gone down and gotten the thing. I can't even do that now. I don't have the gas money for it. We have to borrow gas money tomorrow just to get to work. Oh my god! Why don't people? I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. It would be like the NSA would be here in 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, if we don't get nuked in the next 60 days, we'll see what happens. Can't get worse. Or actually, I shouldn't say that because it
They
can't.
need to kill the
Crazy.
Fed.
Don't tempt it.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I was like, I better not tempt it.
They need
They've
to
already
kill the
started. Did you
Fed.
see fucking Elizabeth Warren talking shit about Tulsi Gabbard? Elizabeth
Yeah, calling her a
fucking
Russian
Warren.
agent.
Yeah.
Oh, are they still pushing that shit?
Yeah. Tulsi
And there
Gabbard
was some chick
fucking
on,
one of those-
Serenity Now, Doc Flamingo.
Oh,
Exactly.
Like George Costanza's father. Serenity Now. And then there was some chick on Joe Rogan trying to accuse Tulsi Gabbard of being a toady for Assad. Assad.
Well, that's the old one. That's
She
from
couldn't
a few
even
years ago.
define it. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
hilarious.
that was Bari, whatever her fucking name is. That was like
Yeah, Goldstein.
That was like 4 years
And
ago.
Joe Rogan's like, really? I haven't read any of this. And like put her on the spot. And
Yeah,
she's
she
just
couldn't
like,
even define what toady meant. She just like
Yeah.
heard
Yeah.
the word.
Yeah, like, and she's like, am I crazy?
Yes.
It's
Yes, you
like,
are.
yeah.
Crazy, stupid, and evil.
It's like,
Are you talking about my first wife?
no.
Very possibly.
Other people we're talking about. But
What is up, Coco and the Nerdy Goblin?
Nerdy Goblin.
Goblin.
Fucking goblin.
He's a
But,
huge goblin.
So I think Hunger will agree that our very first time playing the One Ring went pretty well.
Oh, you
Yeah, it was fun. I hate the dice system
I don't understand why you hate the dice system.
because the second highest number on the main dice is bad.
Only if you're not using the proprietary dice from Free League, which doesn't have the 11 on it. It just has the Eye of Sauron. Because the 11 on a die 12 is the Eye of Sauron, and the 12 is the Rune of Gandalf.
Yeah, but what does
And
the
either
Rune
of
of
those
Gandalf?
things has big effects in the game.
When I got a
Why didn't
12,
they make it
well,
the
no,
one?
when I got a 12, I did get a big effect when we were marching.
Right?
Why is
Because
the bad one not the one?
most of the game last night was the journey phase
Learning.
and learning. So they were basically doing a journey that took a week out from Bree. Well, actually from Bilbo Baggins' house, but through Bree and then out through the woods to the Weather Hills. So they learned all about the journey phase, like picking the hunters and picking the scouts and the guys and whatever. If you don't mind, an online bank Ally is very solid.
And Chime, like he said, is FDIC insured. It's recognized by everybody. It's a Visa card. And it has, when you sign up, you get a debit card and a credit card. But the credit card works on your account. So you can't spend more than you have in your account on your credit card, but it affects your credit score. So if you just use that as your debit card,
Right.
with the money that you have in it, it ups your credit like a lot.
Yeah,
I have been there, Flamingo, when I worked construction. The company I worked construction for paid us in SunTrust Bank checks. So if you took it anywhere but the SunTrust Bank, which don't exist anymore, it went out of business, you had to pay a fee. But if you took it to SunTrust, then it was like no problem, right?
Yeah, I get paid $30 less a week if I use another bank, and I get paid a day later.
Why do you get paid less?
Just because they have an arrangement with that bank.
That's fucked up. See, my
That's illegal.
I get my check
There's some way
like
around it.
5 days
sure.
early. I get my check like 5 days early through Chime, because direct deposit you get it early, but then Chime will deposit it into your account as soon as they get it. Hey, off grid.
Hey, off grid, being off grid and all. No, I totally know exactly what Doc's talking about because I have been there myself. I worked for a construction company, which was basically a guy who owned a company. And every other week or every week, I forget, he wrote our paychecks. And they were written on that bank's. I mean, it literally had your name and like SunTrust. You know, it got printed out actually, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, when
'cause
I
it
worked
gets
for
drawn
Westgate,
off
Only other
the
bank
bank I had,
had
it
to
gets
pay a
drawn
fee.
off there regardless of where my account is. So they're
Westgate
getting a fee
Resorts,
off it.
Westgate Resorts had their own fucking bank. And
Right. And no matter where I went, I would have to pay a fee unless I went to the SunTrust Bank. And some banks, I would try and cash my check, and they would be like, well, we got to put a hold on it. And I'd be like, what? I mean, just give me the cash. What? So anyway, I guess I'm commiserating with you, bro. I've been there. It sucks.
We've all
It's
been
just
there.
maddening. It's just
Yeah.
maddening.
Cash is king. That's a fact.
At Westgate, they had their own. They had great insurance, but they had their own doctors. So if I had to go to a doctor, I had to drive to Orlando to the resort to see the doctor. The bank
Right.
was at one of their resorts. I mean, they had. But this guy, Steve Siegel, he was giving away Lexuses like they were freaking Jolly Ranchers and shit.
Well, when you got $1 billion, what does 50 grand or 100 grand is like, that would be like me giving you a pack of like Hot Wheels from Walmart.
Yeah.
That's about how it would affect, when you compare,
Yeah.
$5 versus, but I mean, whatever, good for him. He worked hard, I hope, and got it. But yeah, one thing I have learned is if you want to buy ammo, just go to the bank and withdraw the cash and then go buy it. Because if you buy ammo with your credit card, for some reason, they report it.
Yeah.
Even though it's like, okay, I bought 2 boxes of whatever because I'm going to go to the range in a week. So why does anybody need to know? This is a total everything. But again, in the United States now, if you spend more than $800 or put more than $800 in the bank or basically anything more than $800, they tell the FBI.
Yeah. If you buy 2 guns within a month, or it might be 60 days, it gets reported. There's all.
I
kinds
got
of-
super reported because I bought.
If you
like
buy
9
ammo at Walmart, they want a license, and I'm sure.
I
they
bought
reported it.
9 guns in 1 month a couple of years ago, and now when I buy a gun, the background check takes about an hour and a half.
Well, those are always long.
Now I have a concealed carry permit, so in Florida,
Yeah, I got one too.
I can buy and walk out with it that day, and it's supposed to make the background check go quicker. But because I've bought so many guns, they're all like, yeah. What's this guy trying to do? And I'm like, own guns.
I remember the time I was buying that G3, and I lie, it wasn't a G3, it was a Secmi, but basically the same rifle. And they did the background check and they denied me. They're like, you're not allowed to own guns. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, let me see that. And it said that I wasn't allowed to own guns because I had a permanent order of what do they call it when you can't go near people?
Restraining
Restraining
order.
order.
Yeah, I had a permanent restraining order on me. And when I looked at it, I was like, bro, I'm Jimmy. And they're like, you're not Johnny? And I'm like, I'm not Johnny, I'm Jimmy. And he's like, oh, wait. So then he did it again. He's like, yeah, sure, here's your rifle. Because that was my first ex-wife. So horrible. I got a restraining order on her. And the judge agreed with me about how horrible she was, that the judge made it forever. Because usually in Florida, a restraining order goes away after so many years.
Did you see that shit Sacha Baron Cohen tried down here a couple of years ago at the gun store?
No?
He went in doing his like shtick, that he usually does on doing the crazy foreigner thing, saying, I want to buy a gun to kill Jews and blah, blah, blah. And he's giving him a fake name. And the owner recognized him. He's like, oh, of course, sir. Please fill out this form. And he filled out the form with the bullshit name, and he called the cops on him. He's like, I got a guy here who
A gun with a
falsified it.
alias?
And he got off. They let him off, though. If one of us did that, we'd be in jail for 20 fucking years.
It would have been funny if they stuck his ass in jail for a few years.
Should have. They
So,
absolutely
speaking about internet personalities and shit going to jail, Johnny Somali is so fucked in Korea. Like, he went over to Japan and he caused a bunch of problems. They put him in jail for like 3 months and then they kicked him out of Japan. So he went to Israel and caused a bunch of problems and they kicked him out of Israel. He went to South Korea, caused a bunch of problems. They took his passport.
Well,
Good.
first they
Guys,
knocked
guys,
him out.
Oh,
And he got beat
multiple
up by
times.
random crowds of Koreans. Like,
Multiple times. They put a fucking. They were hunting him for sport. The citizens in South Korea just knocking him. He'd walk out of a hotel. He's got like
I
bandages
saw
on
the
his
one
neck.
video where there's like 3 Koreans just whipping his ass.
You do not fuck with Asians in their country.
Now
They do
The
not like
Japanese
that shit,
put
and a
up with
black
this
dude
shit.
on top of it.
he is. They're saying he could go to prison for like 29 years now.
Yeah, at first they threatened him with 10, but then they're like, fuck it. Let's just. But apparently, the Koreans, if you go to Korea, you do not fuck around with them
No, they're very serious.
because they do not accept that shit.
Which is
At
good. Which is good. I got our mom and dad watching the story of Johnny Somali getting his ass beat, and they just sit back and laugh.
I'm surprised somebody in Israel didn't straighten him out.
This is just natural selection in action.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I guarantee you that he went to Jerusalem and went down where all the Hasidic live and started acting up. I mean, he probably
And he
wouldn't have
started-
got out of there.
Yeah,
You know
he
what I
started
mean?
dry humping the Welling Wall or something.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking into the
He
lynch's
wouldn't have got
ass.
out of there. They
But he went and he stripped his shirt off and poured baby oil all over one of the statues of the women that the monuments for the comfort women they got all over South Korea. He poured baby oil all over it and then poured it all on himself, and he was like rubbing his junk up against it, shit. And once the Koreans saw him post that shit on YouTube, they just like they said online, they started hunting his ass for sport. People were running up to him. He'd be out doing a video, and people would just run up and like freaking drop kick his ass in the back of the head and shit. And like a special forces Korean soldier knocked his ass out. When he stood up, he was stumbling around. He's like, "Where's my hat? Where's my hat?" I'm just sitting there laughing my ass off, man. It was
Well,
great.
Well, don't fuck with
Like
South
we all
Korean
said.
Tiger Commandos.
like we all say, he has effed around to the level to where he's finding out.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah, but
that's
then
the
there's
right
that asshole
correlation.
kid that got shot in the gut when he was doing one of his stupid TikTok pranks. Lived through the whole event and is right back doing his
Yeah,
shit.
doing
He
the
learned
same
nothing
crap.
from the event. You know?
I'm
I've
glad
seen
they
one
didn't
where
charge
this
the
guy
guy.
goes around and he's got a bodyguard and he talks mad shit.
Oh,
to
that
people.
fucking white boy needs a beating.
Yeah, well, in that one, he talked mad shit to somebody, and somebody said, "Hey, don't handle that language around kids." And he started talking shit, and somebody like waylaid him. And then the bodyguard went to jump in, like 3 other dudes jumped in. He was somewhere in Florida, and it was like, it turns out Florida man don't give a shit about your bodyguard. You know what I mean? He's
2
coming
asses to beat. Hoo-hoo.
I saw that
Like-
video of that one guy who was like doing all kinds of weird shit to this guy, Uber Eats dude, in a mall, and the internet dude kept on getting in his face and shit. And dude pulled out like a little P365 with 9mm and shot him right in the gut.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
talking about.
what we're talking about.
That's what I was talking about, Hunger. That fucking
I
kid
know, I'm
got out of the
agreeing.
hospital, is right back doing it again. And if you ever see the interview where he's leaving the hospital with his mother, listen to the mother. And now you know why this fucking kid is the way he is. You know what I mean? It's just like, fuck. They say a father fucks up a kid, mothers can too. Real bad. She lets this fucking boy do whatever he wants, thinks he's cute and funny, you know, and boom.
Now he's getting a dose of leticillin.
I mean, the kid is lucky. I mean, a lot of people don't get shot and then walk out the hospital.
Nope.
You would think that would give him pause to reflect.
No.
Try to
Right. The next
reevaluate
one could hit
his
me.
way of life.
In my aorta or something, and I won't be coming out the hospital that time, you know? But no. Yeah, in Florida, your bodyguard needs a bodyguard. If you're going to hire bodyguards down here, you hire like a team, like 5 of them. Because people in Florida will jump into a fight that don't even involve them. If they're
Right,
just in the
that's true.
area and a fight breaks out, they're jumping in. You know, it's like whoever you think is in the right, you jump in on their side.
That's true because I saw this pregnant woman getting beat up, and I jumped in and I just started welling on her because it was a 2-on-1 fight, and that just wasn't fair.
You'll be here all weeks, folks. Don't forget to tip your waitress. But I'm pumped.
There was one of those idiots, somebody in Russia, guy went around, slapped some pregnant woman. They beat him half to death.
I saw that video. Well, how about the Russian guy who started going out after a dude with a freaking narwhal horn?
No, yeah, that was in England though, and
Yeah, but it was still a
guy,
Russian.
Polish guy. It was when the guy was like doing the terrorist attack on the bridge,
Yeah.
and the Polish guy who had immigrated to England and was working as a cook grabbed a narwhal horn off the wall and went out there and stabbed that dude and put him
Nice.
down.
That's hardcore.
It's like, okay, you know, maybe England, since they've made themselves such a bunch of pussies, needs to import some more Poles, you know, instead of whatever the hell they're doing. But regardless of my opinions on that, yeah, it's like
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
weird.
the one. It was a UCF fight, and the Iranian fighter kicked and started talking shit to the ring
The
girl.
ring girl, and he got the shit.
And
beat
the
out of him.
Russians went freaking haywire.
Yeah.
Not only did he get his ass whipped in like 30 seconds in the fight, when he got out of the ring, the crowd was waiting. And he just got the shit beat out of him.
Now, there's a video that I saw the other day. I think this is the one that Doc's talking about. This like skinny, goofy guy. He's double flipping off this
Yeah.
pregnant woman, and he walks up and he slaps her, and he goes to walk away. And when he's walking away, this dude just like, "This is Sparta!" He
It's
just
like
keeps
he's
flying through the air with his foot out.
Flying
And the
through
guy
the
flops
air.
on the ground and he starts punching him, and you can hear the guy on the ground be like, "Oh, oh!" It was
He's
great.
flying like Superman across the camera. Just boom. Puts
You
it
know, but
down.
like was said earlier by a couple people in chat, it's fucking natural selection at work, because you know, if you're going like wherever they are, they might get away with that shit. They won't go to Okeechobee and do that,
FAFO, baby.
because you know, you go down to Okeechobee or one of those real country parts of freaking Florida,
Yeehaw Junction.
yeah, and start wanting to prank somebody, you're getting killed. I mean, 100%. Somebody will kill you. And you won't take that shit to West Virginia or Eastern Kentucky either. You know, start pranking some hillbilly. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
you do not try this shit in South Florida. There's like an alligator within 10 minutes to get rid of the body.
Right. I mean, it's like you, your bodyguard, and your camera will never be found again. And it'll just be like, hey, you remember that one guy?
Ever been on a fan boat ride? Ever been to
Whatever
the
happened to
him?
And they always go to the good neighborhoods. It's like, okay, you want to prank somebody? Why don't you take your ass down South Central? Go to Compton. Just start pranking people on the street.
Yeah.
See what happens. You know what I mean? You're getting your ass whipped. They're going to steal everything you own. You'll be lucky if you keep your shoes, you know?
Some
Yeah,
guy
they,
tried
like
that
you
on-
said, they always want to do it in the really nice neighborhoods where they know that.
Well, some guy tried that shit on Staten Island and found out that phone calls can summon a lot of really tough Italian guys real fucking quick.
You do not fuck
Suddenly he
around
was
in
surrounded by a whole bunch of
neighborhoods.
Italians guys going, "You need to get the fuck out of here right fucking now before they don't fucking find you." Like, it was insane. It was
I seen a video of that. This guy was at a restaurant and he was doing a stream and he was, you know, being a nuisance to society. And the owner of the restaurant comes up to him, or one of the guys at the restaurant. He's like, "Listen, you need to leave now." He's like, "What you mean I need to leave now? See these guys over here? They're made men, and they don't like you. If you know what's good for you, you need to leave now." That guy's like, "I am so sorry," and he packed the shit up and left. He's
You know
like,
what
"Oh,
else
it's your thing
If
to
New York
do.
has ever been Little Italy, you could like go to sleep on the sidewalk with your wallet sitting right there next to you. Nobody's gonna fuck with it.
Yeah, that was a
Never
smart
fucked
thing to
around
do.
in that neighborhood.
yeah."
As soon as the dude said those guys over there made men, it's like, yep, time
Time
to
to
get
go.
the fuck out of here. Because soon, if you keep fucking around, they're going to call somebody, and you're taking a trip to Florida. And as we all know from having watched Goodfellas, when you get the trip to Florida, you don't come back because they're bringing you down here to feed you to an alligator.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know what? Zoos have alligators too.
huh?
Zoos have alligators.
Yeah, remember in Goodfellas when they were worried that they were going to call him, and he got the call to go to Florida to do a job, and he was sweating, but then they called the call off because he knew.
You go down to Florida to do a job, there's chances you ain't coming back.
If like, not that I would suggest this, but if you were in Florida and you took somebody out down in Okeechobee or near the Everglades, if you went out in a little boat and just dropped them off in the middle of that swamp, no one would ever find them.
Yeah, that body would be gone in an
They
I
hour.
was going to have problems fixing a body in one piece. Apparently, the best thing to do is cut it up into 6 pieces and pile it all together.
Like Alfred's saying, the Foreverglades.
Right? And that's you will get eaten, and maybe by animals, and maybe by the people who live down there, because there are some wild and woolly people down in Okeechobee in that area.
You
Man.
got to be crazy to live in the glades.
Yeah, those people are nuts. I mean, you wake up every day and walk out in the front yard, and there's like 14-foot animals somewhere around that could just eat you.
Like the giant ass pythons and shit.
It's like
out there now.
you're literally living in the land of the lost. There are dinosaurs all around, and reticulated pythons and herpes monkeys. It's like
The Odsley stack.
basically, who said it? Somebody said Florida is America's Australia,
Yes.
because it's like we just have everything down here that wants you dead.
Florida's
from
the
Midwest
definition
have
of
no idea. They worry about
Florida's the
tornadoes.
definition of hold my beer.
Yeah, they worry about tornadoes. We get hurricanes, tornadoes, giant alligators, crocodiles that are American crocodiles, but now also Nile crocodiles, which have zero fear of a human and will eat you just on spot.
Well, speaking of which, did you hear something? We're supposed to have another big, ridiculous storm soon.
Oh, they said one was forming. Yeah.
AIDS monkeys.
I'm counting on a Sharknado this time.
Frickin' those super deadly little frickin' clam things at the beach that if they decide to sting you, you're dead. Sharks.
Yeah, well, those things I think live everywhere.
They are abundant. And Florida is the shark attack capital of the world.
Daytona Beach, Cocoa. Yeah, that strip. But not the deadliest shark attacks. We just got the most.
The most, yeah. We win by numbers.
The deadliest, I think, is Australia.
Yeah, well, they got all those giant ass great whites.
Yeah, down here you get like most shark bites down here is you're wading in a waist deep water and you step on a sand shark or a nurse shark or some shit, and it whacks you on its way out, and then you run out and your leg's bleeding like crazy because a shark just stuck a chunk out of you.
Alfred says Santa goes to Chicago without batting an eye, and he has suspicions that he outsources the Everglades run.
Australia also has crocodiles, which are generally bigger and more surly than alligators.
We have American crocodiles,
which are not as big as Australian
and
crocodiles.
we have Nile crocodiles.
Now crocodiles are flourishing in the Everglades.
Yeah,
and
Nile
they're
crocodiles
salty.
are scary too.
And they're saltwater
And
crocodiles.
none of them are as nasty as saltwater crocodiles.
And Florida has those too.
My grandmother went to Egypt like in the 1930s or something with my grandfather, and they were on a Nile boat cruise, and they saw another boat get basically tipped over and sunk. And she said the most fucked up thing about it was watching the people that weren't getting eaten by the crocodiles making it to the shore and running into swarms of scorpions. Like, it was just like, why would anyone live here? Like, what the fuck?
My sister went to Africa a couple years ago to teach English, and she was talking to the girl. They put her up with like a local girl who was also a teacher at the school to show her the ropes and stuff. She was like, You guys have lions here? I'm like, she's like, oh, don't worry about the lions, honey. It's the hyenas.
Mm-hmm.
She said one of the tricks the hyenas do, they'll find a stray dog and injure it because they know people will come to help a stray dog, an injured dog. And then they'll just swarm in and tear it to
Yeah.
pieces. It's
I'm
Yeah,
more
they're very
afraid of
smart.
freaking hippos.
And they have the bites. They're like bite strength is incredible. Like
Yeah, but
Well,
hippos are
hippo-
still the number one killer of people. Hippos kill more people than any other single animal in Africa. So that's something to
in the
keep in
world,
mind.
I think.
they are very hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Africa is nothing like the song. Yeah, like if you listen to the song and thought that would be a good reason to go to Africa, you messed up.
Sure as Kilimanjaro rises like a Oh, God, I'm being eaten. Fuck. Ah! Exactly. That's the real
But you
version.
know why there's no vampires in Africa, right?
Wow.
Because you
Here we
bless the
go.
rains down in Africa.
They bless the rains.
But yeah, it's like in the world, all of the top killers of humans are like herbivores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cape
Like
Buffalo.
hippos, elks, deer, moose.
Cape
So I was
Buffalo.
watching- there was
Buffalo.
this thing on Animal Planet or Discovery one time I watched, and they basically did this marathon of like deadliest animals, and they did each continent, right? So Africa, you had hippos, and you had cobras, and you had all this crazy shit going on, hyena attacks. And then Australia, they had all the fucking weird shit that's like got more poison than it needs to kill an apex predator by a factor of 1,000, you know, like all this kind of shit. And then they get to North America, and it's the grizzly bear. It's just so cute. It's like the number one deadliest creature in North America, the grizzly bear. And I think that's only because they weren't allowed to put humans at the top of the list, right? Like that's the only thing they couldn't do.
The thing that kills more Americans than anything else is deer.
Yeah, car
American.
accidents.
Yeah,
Like
North,
Americans kill
not
more
North
I
America
almost said on the
total,
smoke
like
and
you
the
know,
fog.
United States.
Oh, we
And
get
you
a lot
know
of
what
deer
kills
death.
most Africans? Mosquitoes. And we could send more nets over there to Africa, we'd save all those mosquitoes from getting AIDS.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Didn't
Oh.
the girl get canceled for that and fired from like some big country? She said that before she left the airport, and by the time she landed, she was fired off because of her tweet.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, it is true. Those poor people do die of a lot of crazy diseases.
Well, you know how everybody's freaking out about
In the
Bill Gates
Congo.
funding that mosquito farm? And everybody's like, why is Bill Gates so evil? He's funding a mosquito. If you actually look into the research they're doing, they're trying to basically make malaria immune mosquitoes that they can then release into malaria populations to have them outbreed and kill off the other mosquitoes and hopefully get malaria under fucking control. But because it's Bill Gates, he must clearly be designing plans to destroy the human race.
Well,
See,
he
I
does
never
already
heard
mean the
that,
shit.
but I have heard people say that mosquitoes are like one of those animals that if they vanish, it wouldn't have any effect on anything.
So I saw a guy say that. He said we could get rid of mosquitoes tomorrow. We have the ability to get rid of them because, as far as we can tell, there's no role mosquitoes play in nature that other species don't fill as well in those ecosystems. But we don't do it because we're terrified that's the day we'd find out mosquitoes were an anchor species.
And it just
You know?
completely collapses everything.
Everything, right?
I know that Gustav, which is a Nile crocodile, they estimated to be about 17 feet long. And he has at least 350 bodies. They think they might have killed him, but they don't know because it's fucking Gustav. And they've thought they've killed him 100 times. And when he's not eating people, he eats smaller crocodiles.
And they don't know how long a crocodile can live.
They
Yeah, some
live
animals slip
a
like
very long
sharks
time.
slip crazy
Yeah, they
long
don't
time.
know the exact number because they usually end up getting killed in the wild.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a hammerhead they occasionally see off. I think it's South Carolina. It's, General something they call them, and they think it's been around since the Civil War.
could have
It's
been.
got
I
a
mean,
distinct wound on its like dorsal fin, and it's like
yeah, we don't
almost
know.
20 feet long.
20-foot long hammerhead. That is freaking terrifying. Even though hammerheads aren't generally known as a species that
Yeah, they're one of the ones least likely to attack people.
Yeah,
They
they
put
generally
you
That
on-
doesn't mean that they
on the
won't.
bottom.
Yeah. Oh,
They're
it could
kind of
definitely
bottom
put a
feeders.
hurt
They
on
eat
you.
crabs and stuff generally.
Oddly,
ones you gotta watch out
they
for,
say are the
believe it
most,
or
one of
not,
the
is
most survivable attacks
right.
because they just kind of like
Bull
The
sharks
One
are
you
the
gotta
ones
watch
you gotta
out for.
watch out
Bull
for.
bull
sharks.
sharks are the ones that murder.
Yeah,
people.
because those motherfuckers have been found up the Mississippi in Mississippi.
Not only that, they're just the most aggressive species of shark,
They're like
on
half
the planet.
fucking testosterone by weight.
Yeah,
and they also have the most testosterone by weight. Yeah, of any animal.
and they can change the way their gills work to run on
It's their
brackish,
kidney.
salt, or water.
Yeah,
fresh.
if they go into fresh water, they can activate their
That's
kidney
scary
this
shit.
way
A
and
fucking shark
live.
that can fucking
Yeah, they
live
found them up in
forever.
the Mississippi River, up in like Missouri and shit.
Dude, where I grew up, we found sharks in the rivers. You know, they just, hey, look at that fucking river shark. What the fuck is that all about? But there it is. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, bull sharks are actually, I mean, if they weren't so deadly and dangerous, they would be like super amazing. And well, I guess they can be both. They are truly a IDF kind of animal, just no fucks given at all.
They got that black Air Force.
To
My
quote
God, are
the
you guys
one dude-
still going on about Bill Gates in the chat? Get over it, you fucking conspiracy theorists. Gave it a rest. Yes, he's a bad man. He was friends with fucking the guy with the island and the struggle hugging. Yes, we get it. He's a bad guy. But in this one case, he's funding a program that could save millions of fucking lives every year. Maybe not everything. Maybe like all people, he's not all good, not all bad. Huh,
Hey,
what a
like
crazy
Darth
idea.
Vader. Darth Vader did some bad shit, but technically he did some good shit too. He kept the peace.
And killed all those stupid younglings, so that really worked out well.
That was a
fucking
bad
Jedi-
thing, but
That was a good
But
thing.
if
Less
you think
Jedi
about
running
the
around.
fact that he kept order, like I always tell people, if you were a moisture farmer on Tatooine, you were way better under the Empire than not.
Oh,
Because
fuck yeah.
as soon as the Empire collapsed, then it becomes just a bunch of warlords, pulling terrorist attacks on each other all over the frickin' place.
Yeah, I never got the whole thing. Did they hide Luke on like his home planet? Only like the second place he'd look.
Oh, that's because
It is-
George Lucas is full of shit. Claimed he had written the entire thing out in advance, did not, and didn't think. Why do all Jedi dress like Tatooine moisture farmers? Why?
Right.
Why? Right?
Right.
Shit like that. Oh yeah, no, Darth Vader. We're gonna hide his son with his actual last name with this guy he knows.
Who goes by his open name? It's like on his fucking mailbox.
On his home world, in the town where he grew up. He'll never think to look there. It'll be fine.
Apparently, Imperial Star Destroyers don't have like phone books.
Well, Luke was going to transmit his application to the Academy next season if Uncle Owen had his way. So what was it immediately like red alert across the fucking Imperial Starfleet of we found Luke, where is he? Tatooine.
Some random guy named something
You just see Vader just
Skywalker
going,
just joined the Imperial Academy.
That's probably why he's choking everybody. He's just so frustrated.
But you know what Vader would have done, though? He wouldn't have killed him. He would have tucked him on as an apprentice.
Absolutely.
So it's a good thing, I guess, things turned out. Otherwise, it'd been real easy. He'd have joined the Imperial Academy. Vader would have showed up. Next thing you know, Luke's learning the dark side. I mean,
Star Wars was cool when I was younger. When I was a kid, Star Wars was cool. The older I've gotten, I realized that Star Trek is where it's at for sci-fi.
Hang on,
whatever.
I'm waiting for the joke because it's Hungar making a valid point. That means
There's
there's
no joke. There's no joke.
All right, then you're right. Problem is, they made Star Trek stupid for the Star Wars crowd as of 2009.
Well,
Yeah,
the new Trek.
What did you
Sorry,
guys
what?
think of Enterprise?
I liked it.
Enterprise was it had moments and it was getting better.
Yeah, they were all terrible their first year or two on the air. They needed to find their feet.
Not the original show.
Not the
Well,
original.
yeah, the original show sucked in the third season because they.
The original show was good all the way through.
Exactly. What?
Yeah, but the original first season with Captain Pike, the first what did
Pilot.
they call it?
The Cage.
Yeah, the Cage.
Yeah, that was great.
That,
I
yeah,
mean, right
that-
off
that
the
was a
bat,
good
that was
movie.
good.
That Captain Pike is my favorite captain.
And The Wrath of Khan is probably one of the best sci-fi movies ever made.
Was
Definitely the best Star Trek movie ever made.
it's a very, very good Star Trek movie, but it's part of a very good trilogy of Star Trek movies, right? 2, 3, and 4. They're amazing. Like they're just fucking such good movies. The problem is they're not sci-fi. Wrath of Khan is a sub-hunt in space, just like Balance of Terror was, right? It's not about sci-fi. It's about hunting each other in submarines.
It is still good.
Yeah, but
Very
that's
good. It's a
how
great
Space
movie.
Combat would be, though.
Now, Star Trek: The Motion Picture is a sci-fi film, and people fucking hate it. They call
like
Star
it.
Trek the
I don't
motion
think it was
picture.
terrible. I mean, there was problems with it.
Slow. It's very slow.
I thought it was good.
I love it.
Beaver and all that.
Yeah, I love it, but it's slow. It's very, very slow. And then what happens? You watch Next Gen, you go, wait a minute, Riker and Troy, that's Decker and Ilea. What the fuck? Like that, they just recycled that shit. Oh man, like it's weird.
Well,
They do a lot of
one of my favorite movies is Jeremiah Johnson, and that movie starts
Great
off
movie.
pretty freaking slow.
Never seen it.
It's great. Robert Redford.
Robert Redford goes out west. He wants a 40 cal repeating Henry, a 50 cal repeating Henry. He eventually
What's a
finds
Hawking?
one on a dead body. Some dude got killed by a bar, but he left a letter. It said, "Whoever finds my body can have my rifle."
It's a Hawking. He wants a 50 cal Hawking.
Yeah, 50 cal Hawking. And then he finds a squaw, marries her, builds a cabin, has a kid. And then some idiot ass Indian braves think it'd be a fun time to burn the cabin down and kill his kid and wife. So he goes on a killing spree. And that's pretty much the movie. He kills so many Indians that the Indians are like, God damn, calm down. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty much a revenge movie.
I think Xnard Prime's actually trying to insult me by comparing me to Walter in The Big Lebowski. Well,
I
I would
like
take that as
Walter.
an insult if you had any frame of reference, Xnard, which you have no frame of reference.
Walter was cool. He was like the crazy Jewish guy.
Yeah.
Like the one guy's fucking with him and he pulls the 45 out and puts it in his face.
I love that scene with the ashes. He just stands there.
Blow
It's like,
back into his face.
Of course. He doesn't even get mad. It's just kind of, yeah, obviously that was going to happen.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, the one guy. Who are you? I'm the dude, man.
The dude
Careful, I've got a cocktail here.
Yeah, the dude abides. Yeah. And it's all about somebody stole his rug.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's a really nice rug. It really brought the room together, you know? And he's
Oh,
standing
does
there,
that what kind of fucking nihilists are you? Yeah.
he's standing there in like a freaking shower robe.
Yeah.
Just-
I love the part where they're working him over. He's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to bounce, guys.
Okay, we'll have fun.
I've been watching this crazy ass Japanese movie or TV show called Alice in Borderland.
No
And
one-
it is.
Surprised. You
It's-
Technicals involved.
It's these guys. They are hanging out, and then the next thing they know, they run to hide from some cops because they're being jerks or idiots, and they're in this area like everybody else in Japan is gone, and they have to play games, and if they don't complete the games, they die, and they can die while they're playing the freaking games, and like if they don't win at a game, lasers come down from the sky and like shoot them in the top of the head. It's freaking wild.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Oh my God, Xnard, take the joke. My Lord, buddy. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke.
All right, guys, you guys be good. Peace, love, chicken grease. Good
Not
to see
having
you.
a
Okay,
all.
Your
thanks
purpose is
for
what he
dropping
says to
in.
Tony all
I'll
the
see you in
time.
a couple weeks or month, whatever.
Yeah,
I've
I'll
seen
be
a
down
couple of years.
beginning of December.
All right.
So you guys getting together?
Yep, I'm driving my mom down,
Nice.
Mom likes to visit in wintertime for a
and
little
I've got to
bit.
visit my kids.
And that deadbeat dad over there needs to go see his kids. Oh, wait. Anyway, love you, bro. Well,
Your brotherly relationship is quite an entertaining thing to observe.
Yeah.
we are the closest of friends
Yeah.
and have always had each other's back no matter what.
Yeah.
But we still fuck with each other like it's our job.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's what friends are supposed to do.
And some people might think it's weird the way we talk at each other, but I mean, I don't get insulted. He don't get insulted. Like I'll be like, "What are you doing, you homo?" And he'll respond with, "Well, I'm sucking some penis. What are you doing?" And I'll be like, "Well, okay then. Let's move on to the next thing we're going to talk about." You know, because that's just how we are, you know. And of course, if it ever gets out of line, I threaten him with violence.
Yeah, your statement last night about the colostomy bag slap, that stuck with me. Especially since I've had gastro for 2 days, it's really stuck with
Yeah,
me.
run up and just slap him right on the back.
God.
Have all that stuff burst out on his chest, on the inside of his coat.
Oh.
But
Oh.
yeah, it's just,
Oh.
but you know what? The guy I talk about all the time that I hung out with so much, Marcus, we were the same way, except he barely spoke. So he and I were more like Jay and Silent Bob. Like he would be quiet and chain smoke Marlboros, and I'd just be going, bah, 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 bah. And every now and then he'd say, "Yeah, it sounds cool. Let's go do that," you know. And then, you know, he died of an embolism, but smoking 2.5 packs of Marlboro Reds since you're 16 will do that. I
Yep,
mean,
that'll
nobody
get
was
you.
super surprised.
No shit.
Yeah. Like that dude would be lighting a cigarette as he was putting one out.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was
You
a
know,
heavy chain
When you're using the old cigarette to light the new cigarette, that's when you
Right.
gotta slow down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
but-
could like light a pack. I could smoke a pack of cigarettes with one frickin' match at one point.
Oh yeah.
See, I think because I saw my grandfather die of throat cancer, that's why I never smoked.
I'll do it to you.
Because I was like 10 and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do it with that, you know.
I got into it really late too. I didn't smoke till I was like 21.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is late. By the time you're 21, why would
You have
you?
no fucking excuse other than you're stupid at that point.
Yeah, I started working at a bar, and
Oh,
we
well,
hung
yeah,
out there
yeah.
all the time, and it was just
That makes sense because everybody at a bar smokes.
yeah.
You know, it's just like, you know, you drink. Even people who never smoke, once they drink a couple beers, they start smoking
Yeah.
again.
That's how it happened to me.
I smoked like a fish. Yeah,
you
you did. Hungar used to smoke a lot. And it was like unfiltered Camels.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? And then later, he had a heart attack. You know, it's like, yeah.
I smoke twice a year. The week of my birthday, I buy a pack of cigarettes, and Christmas week, I buy a pack of cigarettes. That's it.
Yeah, when Hungar got sick, we did not have to call Sherlock Holmes to figure it out.
Yeah.
We were all like, yep. No one was happy, but it was kind of like we all knew. It's like, yeah, you know. Like I told somebody the other day, they're like,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
go
know if
call
they're
this
trying to be
beast down.
mean, but I said how old I was, and they're like, "Oh wow, I wouldn't have thought you were that old." And I'm like, "It's the mileage, not the time." You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's the motor, not the mileage, baby.
You know what I'm saying? And she's like, "Yeah, I get it." And she's like, "So what made you age so fast?" And I was like, "Firefighter." And she's like, "Oh, well, thank you for your service." And I was like, "Don't worry about it, you know. You're the one sitting here calling me an old fuck." I say I'm 53. I mean, this chick out of the blue for no reason that I don't know at the UPS stores. I like, "You're only 53."
Yeah.
God damn, man, calm down.
With,
What are
with
you
the
doing?
beard, with the beard, I've been given 60. Like I'm just like, what? Without the beard, I get 35. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, holy fuck, does the beard age you?
Yeah, same here. Same here. When I shave the beard, everybody's like, "You look like a baby."
Yeah.
Grow the beard
I have-
out.
I have,
60.
I have a face like Kane from the WWE, right? Like when he had the mask, he was the most terrifying thing ever. They took the mask off him. Oh, he's just got a baby face. You can't. Yeah.
Yeah, honey, today I met the crypt keeper with a beard. He was mailing off weird boxes at the UPS store.
We're having a postal strike in Canada right now.
Because they all ask, the UPS people always ask you what you're mailing. So I put the first box down. They're like, what's in this? And I'm like, miniatures. Miniatures? And I'm like, yeah, little plastic miniatures, like for wargaming or something. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's in that? And I'm like, miniatures. Okay. And then the third one I put down and they weigh it, measure it. And they're like, what's in this? And I'm like, a role-playing game. Like what? I said, like a role-playing game. And she's like, okay. And she wrote role-playing game down. And then, you check it off and they take it. And it's like, they always ask, though. One of these days, I'm going to send somebody a box, but when they ask me what's in, I'm going to be like, a Swedish penis pump. And just like, have them put that down in their records. Jimmy McKee is sending crafty gamer a
7000.
penis pump.
Tell them it's a Jarvex 7000. What's that? It's an artificial heart.
Yeah. Well, my buddy Marcus starts smoking at about 15, which is about when Hungar starts smoking. And they were like, seriously, at least a pack and a half, 2 packs a day. For decades, let's say. Decades.
Wow.
Decades. And the whole time I would be bitching about they needed to quit smoking and shit. But, nobody listens to me because that's my lot in life. And I just need to get used to it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Nobody's going to listen to me. So,
Yeah, well.
whatever. But, and I guess I was kind of different. Since I never smoked, I was always that guy, that guy.
The guy.
That guy. I would never let anybody smoke in my house or anything. I was that guy, and people would be
You
like,
you ever watch Drew Carey do stand up? He had this whole bit where he's like, you can't get enough good advice when you smoke, huh? Like, so you can't get enough good fucking advice. They're always like, hey, every cigarette takes a year off your life. But he's like, hey, I was almost having a moment of joy. Fuck off. Nazi.
yeah. Yeah. Drew Carey, that dude. Another hilarious guy. And the guy from Office Space that played the redneck construction worker was on the Drew Carey show.
Dietrich Bader. He was also the voice of Batman on the Brave and Bold cartoon series.
Was he?
Yep.
Neat. I love that. We talked about the other day, but I love that when the guy Peter comes in, he's like, hey man, can I ask you a question? The guy's like, sure. He's like, have you ever heard anybody tell you that you got a case of the Mondays?
Where you work? No, I think you get punched in the face. You said that word.
Hell no. I believe you get your ass whipped for saying something like that.
Yeah.
He's just looking at him like, what? Case of the Mondays.
That was based off a comic strip, wasn't it?
It was based on a comic strip. Well, it's Mike Judge's stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's actually the goofy guy is the main character in it, isn't he?
You took my red line stapler. Yeah. I was told I was allowed to keep it, but then they took my stapler. Yeah.
Well, he threatened. He kept saying, "I burned this place to the ground."
I just burned the place to the ground.
And he did though. It turned out he wasn't bullshitting. He burnt that place to the freaking ground. He's like, "Yep."
No, you don't understand. We fixed the glitch.
Yeah, right. We like to avoid any sort of confrontation, so we'll just let it all work out. It'll work itself out. They're like, "Oh."
I told those guys I like Michael Bolton's music.
I love that too.
You've been missing a lot of work lately. I wouldn't say I've been missing it.
Yeah, I've been missing it, Bob. And then, like when his boss comes in and they're like, "Okay, what do you think about Peter or whatever?" And oh, that guy's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to disagree with
I'm
you.
gonna have to
And
go ahead.
the Bobs look at him. They're like, by the way, what is it
What are you
exactly
doing here again?
you do?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
Hey,
think
how
we,
you doing, RPG Dad? That
he
movie,
has the flashback memory or the fake memory of him fucking the girl and her legs. Just fuck that scene killed me, man.
I'm gonna need you to work this Saturday.
Yeah, go ahead.
because you had the surfer dude, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know that girl, so and so." You know, and he's always like, "I'm gonna pick up what's her name and show her my O face." You know, oh.
Problem
He's
is,
just like goofy blonde guy.
between The Office and Office Space, I never thought those people, or Dilbert, I never got those things really until I worked in a corporation, and then I was like, "Oh, this shit's real.
Yeah,
This
it's
shit's legitimately real." But here's one for you guys: WKRP is a fucking documentary. Like, I worked in radio, and I am not kidding you. Now, the people's jobs will change, their genders will change, their races will change, but when you work in radio, you will meet a Herb Tarlick. You'll meet a Les Nessman. He might be a 50-year-old overweight African-American woman, but you're going to meet that personality at the radio station. It's so fucking weird.
That's a shame about that show. You'll never see it again because of the licensing of the
No,
music.
they sorted out the licensing. They've removed the songs they can't get the rights for, and they've left the ones in they could.
Oh,
So,
they were able to splice something together because I remember they were going to do.
Yeah, you couldn't for the longest time. It was like, nope, because of the music rights. Yeah.
Right.
Because initially they gave them away. They're like, yeah, sure, use them.
Well,
Great.
that's back before they charged radio stations to play music. Like, they have a reverse payola scam now, where it's basically you have to pay their license fees to be able to play their music on your radio station, which is promoting their music to a large audience of people who may then go buy that music. Well, welcome to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. That ruined all of that shit. Sucks, because there were some good radio stations I used to listen to that were from places I used to live, but now, and I go online and listen live, and I could listen to the stations and hear some stuff, and then that fucking law came in, and suddenly all of them, you couldn't listen live.
That's why you hear the exact same shit on every station forever. There,
Well, I mean,
when I was living in New York, Joe Walsh did a radio show, and that was awesome because he would just bring in his personal like CD collection. He would come in with a big bag of CDs. He'd like play his music because they let him do whatever he wanted. It's weird. The man can still sing. He can't speak. He is unintelligible when he speaks, but he can still sing. It's absolutely bizarre.
Anyone that sang "Life's Been Good to Me."
Yep.
Yeah.
My Maserati does 185. Exactly.
Yeah, I
saw him on Letterman.
Now I don't drive.
Yeah, I saw him on Letterman the first time he was on Letterman back, I think it was in the 80s or early 90s. And he sits down and he goes, "So, Joe, how fast does your Maserati go?" That was his first question.
You know who else is like you said, like when he talks, you can't understand him, but you can when he sings? Is like Eddie Money.
Oh, yeah.
The dude that did Shaking and all that.
Yeah. He was a
Abracadabra,
Bronx
whatever.
cop for a long time.
It's like was so hopped up on heroin and God knows what else. He would talk and it'd be like, what's he saying? Then you get on stage and be like, and we were shaking, you know. And it's just like, okay, all right, you know.
Take
English people are like that. Like you hear the brothers from Oasis talking to each other in an interview, and you're like, "What the fuck are they saying?" And then you play Wonderwall, and it's like they sound, Ozzy when he's wandering around the house, all hobbled down, muttering, whatever that is. The only word you can understand is Karen,
Sharon.
yeah, Sharon.
I remember when they were having a birthday. I was watching that show, and they were having his birthday party, and there was a bunch of bubbles that were going to go off at one point. He's like, "I got fucking bubbles. Sharon, I'm the fucking Prince of Darkness."
Yeah. But then they give him his shots and put him out on stage, and the next thing you know, he's running around like a maniac singing Crazy Train. So, you know.
It must be a weird thing because I saw a documentary years ago where there's some girl who had a brain injury. She totally lost the ability to speak, but could sing. It was the only way she could vocalize.
Hey, the
Because
human
apparently it's a
brain
different
is
part of the
weird.
brain that handles it.
Yep.
It was the weirdest thing.
The human brain is weird, man. RPG Dad, we wouldn't want him where we live.
Southern man.
That's right. I hope Neil Young will remember that Southern man don't need him around anyhow. And half of the band who said that was from Florida, and the other
I
half.
still think that was one of I can't remember. It was David Spade on Saturday Night Live. He was doing his summer concert roundup. He went to see Leonard Skinner. They opened with Freebird. I don't think that was a smart choice for Leonard Skinner because that's like their song, and like then it's like they open with Freebird, and then what? An hour of songs we've never heard before. No, because I saw was it the Eagles? They opened with Hotel California. That's okay because they've got like 10 more hits they can play. It's like fuck, what a shot at Leonard Skinner, man.
Yeah, but no, Skinner. You had Freebird, and then you had
Three Snaps.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama, and then you had Curtis Lowe.
Not if you didn't grow up in the South, you did not have that. That's the point.
Because Curtis Lowe is the guitarist singing about how he learned how to play guitar from a black guy named Curtis Lowe.
Yeah.
And he would scrounge up enough money to get Curtis Lowe a bottle of cheap wine, and then Curtis Lowe would let him sit there and teach him to play guitar. So the chorus was like, play me a song, Curtis Lowe, Curtis Lowe. And he talked about how his mom didn't like him hanging out with Curtis Lowe and all that. But
what you're talking about, James, is regional impact of musicians, right? So the perfect example of that for the old Geek and I were talking about this the other day. How many hit songs did Kim Wilde have in the 80s in North America? One, Kids in America. It's the only song she ever hit with. In England, meanwhile, she owned the charts for 6 years. You know what I mean? So like, there's like 10 songs they know by her over there.
Yeah,
it's
Slade
really
was like that. They had one Slade. They had one American hit. They were like
Run Away, baby.
Yeah, they were absolutely huge for decades.
I love black and white, streaming in black and white. Yeah, they did that, and then the other one, Up Around the Bend, was them too, wasn't it?
No, that was Creedence.
No, but they did a cover of it at one point in the late 70s, early 80s. It was pretty big for them.
Give me back my bullets.
And then Hanoi Rocks did a cover of their version.
Simple Man, one of Leonard Skinner's best songs. Be a simple kind of man.
Apparently, I've turned into Uncle Jed's Rock Hour, so I'll just sit back and shut my northern mouth up.
Oh, hey, look. Canada is responsible for the #1 most played summer hit of all time by a band that most people don't even know.
Which would be?
Still My Sunshine by Lynn.
Lynn, oh Jesus Christ, they're from Toronto. Oh Jesus Christ.
That's not fair. Canada has apologized for Bryan Adams on several occasions.
On several occasions.
I love Bryan Adams.
You may have Celine Dion. We're fine with that. Take her and Alanis Morissette. Keep her, please. And Avril Lavigne, you can have her as well. And by the way, we've got a deal on Nickelback.
I love Nickelback too. I don't care what anyone says. Nickelback did not get all those platinum records because 4 people liked them. Obviously,
they got all those records because millions of boring housewives love them.
Well, I guess I'm a bored housewife, which is technically true. Sometimes.
So sorry, was thinking of a different story. Fuck, we worked with a guy who was really into Nickelback. He said it in the newsroom. That poor kid, he was like fucking 19 years old, first job in radio, and he opens up that he likes Nickelback, and all these old radio guys just start going off on him for like 20 minutes. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Neil Young has some good stuff.
But apparently that song, Still My Sunshine, has been voted the #1 summer hit of all time.
You know which movie I heard that in the first time in my life? Go.
No.
You ever see Go? The movie Go?
No.
It's got Sarah Polley and a bunch of other people you'd know if you watched it, Katie Holmes, and it's like a Tarantino-esque story about these characters all interacting with each other throughout the course of the night, including one guy who like takes way too much fucking drugs, and he's like the cat in the drug dealer's apartment starts talking to him because he's like they have this. Him and the girl have this game where they have to name a celebrity whose name begins with the same letter, and X comes up and he's like, "That's fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit." And he's peeking and he looks at the cat and the cat's looking at him. It's a black cat. It's just good. Let's see subtitle: Xerxes. What? Xerxes begins with X. Go is a really fun fucking watch. Like you'll enjoy it.
Well, Hungar says I have seen it, so
Oh
I must have seen it, and I just don't.
Wow, Katie Holmes was at that point when anything Katie Holmes was in was worth watching because she was so fucking cute.
She was a little cutie.
And then she did that fucking movie where she was Keanu Reeves' wife and she gets killed with Kate Blanchett, where she reads cards. What the fuck was that movie called? Someone in the chat will know the name of that fucking movie, and that's where you get to see Katie Holmes' tits, and they are fucking spectacular.
Well,
like,
that's nice.
Spectacular. And then she marries Tom Cruise and fucks up her whole life.
Well, I think she escaped from him, and
yeah, Timmy Olyphant is Ingo. He plays the drug dealer.
Yeah.
Ingo, yeah. What is that fucking movie? Not The Craft, but something's got a name like that. No, it's got a name like The Something. And Kate Blanchett plays, like, it's all Southern, right? And Kate Blanchett plays this chick who reads cards, but they didn't give her tarot cards. For some reason, they gave her those fucking star, square, three wavy line cards. And I remember just staring at them going, how you read fortune with that bullshit? Like, what the fuck? But Keanu Reeves is amazing in that movie. Like, it was the movie that made a lot of us go, oh shit, he can act. The Gift. That's it. The Gift. Thank you, Six Nations. The Gift.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Katie Holmes' tits are in that movie, and it's worth the price of admission just for Katie Holmes' tits.
Like I did say the other day, though, I watched Hellraiser 10, and it was actually good.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it was like, I'm not going to say you're going to watch it and be like, damn, that's the best movie I've ever seen in years. But you'll watch it and you'll be like, that was not a waste of time. That was actually kind of interesting. You know?
Do you remember Dracula 2000? That awful Dracula movie? They made a sequel called Dracula 2. And me and my buddies, we all film people, right? We were fucking at the video store and we saw it. And we're like, oh my God, let's watch this and make fun of it. Ah, ha, ha. So we took it back and we threw it in and we turned it on. And for about the first 5 minutes, we're making jokes. And then slowly but surely, each of us shuts up and is just watching the film. And it sucked us in. It was so good. And it suddenly got a little cult following and it did well. So they made a third one and they completely went back to like the shit of Dracula 2000. It was like just garbage. But in the middle is this one little fucking film that's really well done. It's got one of the London brothers in it. Jeremy London or Josh London or whatever. There's one of those guys is the star. And it's got the guy who played Bruce Lee. In The Dragon. What the fuck is his name? Oh my God. He plays a kung fu priest. He's really good. Yeah, Dracula 2 Ascension. That's it. Jason Scott Lee. Jason Scott Lee's in it. Roy Scheider's in it. Craig Sheffer's in it. Like it's a really good little fucking film.
I'll have to check that out.
I think you know what, Doc? We're gonna watch it on Saturday on the Discord.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool. Because I mean, I've got Shudder, so.
Oh, it's probably on there.
You know, because for some reason, when I was like very, very young, I would not watch scary movies. And now I go to sleep to them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, I think it's because, like I was telling you, how I kind of lost my fear of death. So now scary movies don't scare me that much, except for The Taking of Deborah Logan. That movie scared the shit out of me.
The last movie that scared the shit out of me was probably the original cut of Paranormal Activity before Steven Spielberg got them to recut it for the theatrical release. I managed to get a copy of it. I downloaded it to watch it, and it was the original cut, and it scared me. So I told my girlfriend at the time, I said, you need to watch this. She watches it, and then she's like, it's not fucking scary. And I'm like, all right, it wasn't scary, whatever. 4 a.m, my phone rings. I can't sleep. I'm thinking about that movie. You have to keep up, stay with me. So I just stayed with her till the sun came up. She was so fucking scared. That's probably the last movie that put a little fear in me. Before that, I got to go all the way back to Session 9. You ever see Session 9?
Yes, that was so good. That's the one where they're like cleaning the ass.
Asbestos cleaning at
out of
the insane
the-
asylum. Me and my buddy and a couple of girls, we went to see it at a theater, which was a very different experience than watching it at home. So watching at home, you can pause it, get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever. We're stuck in a theater, staring at the screen. And at one point, I lean over my buddy, I'm like, dude, I got to piss real bad. He goes, me too, for the last 20 minutes. I'm too scared to leave the theater. I'm like, me too. Fuck, I can't fucking handle this. Love that movie. That movie was so good.
Yeah, that was a good movie with a twist ending and
Great cast.
crazy as hell, man. It was just like, what is going on here?
The last movie I saw in the theater was Dune 2. And the last movie I saw before that was Dune 1. Like, what the fuck is wrong with movies these days?
I didn't even wait. I waited for both of them to come out on HBO
Wow.
and just watched them at the house. Same thing I did with Deadpool and Wolverine. I didn't go to the theater. I just waited to. Now it's streaming now. I watched it. I was like,
Oh, no, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine in the theater. That's right. We did go see that.
I watched it, and you know what I thought? I thought that was pretty good.
It was fun. It was
Yeah,
a fun
it
movie.
was a fun little movie. You know, I mean, was it the greatest movie or most intellectual movie of all time? No, but was it fun? Yeah, it was fun. You know, you liked it. You know, whatever. But maybe somebody didn't like it. But I think they're probably wrong.
Did you ever watch Wolfhound finally? The Russian fantasy film?
You are not the only one who keeps telling me.
Yeah,
watch
I've heard of that.
I don't think I have.
We watch it about twice a year on my Discord now. It's so fucking good.
I obviously need to. I have watched Ilya Murman's, the Soviet version, and I of course watched Viking, the Russian one from 2013 or 16 or whatever,
Yeah. No, you told
about
me
Vladimir the Great, and I watched the other Russian movie where the Russians fight to hold off the Mongols, and they like hold a hilltop and all end up dying, but they end up the Mongol Khan is so impressed with their bravery that he has them all buried with honor, and that's supposed to be a true story. You know, so yeah, they basically, these guys were sacrificing their lives so that the people could evacuate from Kiev because the horde was coming. And they all knew it was a one-way trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that
Doc's
was a
playing
really
Dragon
good
Bane.
movie.
Look at that.
Now, which one is Dragon Bane? Is that the one with the ducks?
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it.
Cody said he already got it, which surprised me. How
Yeah, it
quick
came fast. He was showing me pictures. It's like, holy shit, that was fast.
Yep.
Florida,
The
Tennessee.
only negative, as I said to him and you, is there's no dice in it because I don't know where the dice are.
That's okay. I can always mail him my extra set if he really needs
Well,
dice.
it just uses D&D dice. You don't. There's no special dice.
Well, it's just you have the dragon and the demon on the D20. That's
Right, but whatever, you know. It does have ducks in it, and it does have wolf people in it, and then it has the standard fantasy races, and it's very Swedish.
Mr. I'm going to challenge you, Thur, to take me seriously while I play a knight named Thur Drake Mallerly. Do not be an insipid poltroon, Thur.
Okay, this is going to be an adventure.
Make a human mage and name him like Robert Collins. Dark Shadows, the energy vampire,
Oh.
the guy with the glasses, and he's always like,
Barnabas Collins.
yeah. And the one time he died, but then a baby burst out of his chest, and Laszlo raised him, and he grew up, and eventually he found a hidden library.
Oh, what we do in
Right.
the dark. You know, not Dark Shadows. What we do in the dark.
What we do in the dark, yeah.
Or no, what we do in the shadows. That's it. What we do in the
Yeah.
shadows. Yeah.
And then Laszlo was super sad because Robin Collins forgot that Laszlo had raised him, and it like hurt his feelings. Colin Robinson, that's it. And it hurt his feelings because he had developed an actual father-son kind of relationship. But then when Colin Robinson became an adult, which he did super fast, he forgot, you know. And Laszlo's like, I raised you from the time you were a baby, you ungrateful little turd. You know? But yeah, that's Robin Collins' thing. It's like he's an energy vampire. So apparently, the more distressed people are around him, the more powerful he is. He feeds on misery. And
You're gonna be on for a little while longer, James, or you're gonna be wrapping up soon?
Wrapping up soon, I think.
Okay.
Why?
I was gonna go make a cup of coffee and come back, but if you're gonna be wrapping up soon, I'll just
Oh,
wait.
you got time.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go make a cup of coffee and be back then.
Okay. Yeah,
Sir,
I
I can't
actually.
wait to see what your character will be, sir.
Yep. Colin Robinson.
Well, it's going to have to be some kind of obnoxious animal then.
Laszlo Cravensworth. And then the other vampire is Naja Antipaxos. Because she's Greek. And Nandor the Relentless. And when he's talking about it all, and he's like, I would raid people's villages, and they would say, please don't raid our village. But I would, because I am relentless. You know what I mean? Nandor's my favorite character. Nandor and then Guillermo are my favorite characters, though.
I think I'm going to go with the wolf guys so I can be the bestest boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the wolf guy, if you want to play a ranger, that's the dude. Because they are really good at all the outdoor bullshit. Like, so if you want to play an outdoor type character, that's like, but if you want to, I mean, they can be anything. There's no rule about it. So, but I have a group full of furries and elves. Just furries and elves as far as the eye can see.
That is what on earth made them go with ducks? That is such a weird choice. I mean, of all
because RuneQuest, which came out like very soon after D&D, like in the way early 80s, had ducks in it. Still does. And Demons and Dragons, which is the English name for the Swedish game, I think they stole a lot of ideas from RuneQuest back in the day. So they added ducks because I don't know why. But, you know, I mean, the thing about Dragonbane is they tell you right away not to take it super serious. That's why they call it mirth and mayhem. Because you're supposed to have fun, but shit is going to hit the fan. And people will most probably die. But it's supposed to be fun, you know, so.
So
Now,
it's
What We Do
basically
in the Shadows, I've never seen the film, but I've watched the series, and I've watched all 6 seasons of it, and I have loved every episode. Every episode's just been great. They are the most incompetent vampires I've ever seen in any movie ever. It's like, if it weren't for Guillermo, I don't even know if they would survive. You know what I mean? They're just that incompetent. They can't do a damn thing without him. They don't even know like where windows are in their house. You know, he has to show them like basically everything. And then they treat him like shit all the time because he's not a vampire.
okay. So this should be interesting. I'm picking up. Yeah, I actually am having to like make a schedule now for gaming. I have an embarrassment of riches after a long dry
Nice.
spell.
You know, you have a plethora of choices, Hefe. Right?
Yeah,
Pillow and pressed duck with plum sauce. Right? But then if you get over the fact that there's talking ducks and wolf people in it. The world is very Tolkienish.
Okay, cool.
So it's kind of except you have magic users, but like I got a very Tolkien vibe out of the setting, kind of,
Oh, cool.
but not the same, obviously.
Is it a D&D clone?
No, it's a BRP clone, except
Okay.
they round everything by 5, so you use a die 20
so you okay.
It
Yeah.
basically uses the same mentality as Pendragon.
Yeah,
Okay.
kinda.
All right.
But
I know.
yeah, no, it's a really good system, and it's based off of Glorantha from RuneQuest, which had the ducks in it, so that's why there's ducks in it.
That's what I said. It was RuneQuest came out in the very early 80s, and apparently the Swedes liked RuneQuest. So the Germans got a role playing game too called like Dark Eye or Eye of Darkness or some shit, but that one's more like D&D, but it uses a different system. It's like a dice 6 system, and that's the *1 game in Germany. Dropping something, or
Oh no, the #1 game in Germany is
Zvarten something.
the one eye, the Dark Eye.
The Dark Eye. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I got friends who play that here in French, and they fucking love it. You like Crunch? That's the game for you, man.
That's hey, how you doing? Speaking of the devil, GM Cody.
Hey.
Yeah, these two were just talking about characters for Dragonbane, and I
don't know what I might have been talking about.
Dragonbane.
Certainly, there's no reason in particular why I've changed my avatar. No, sir. None at all. You, sir, are a scallywag.
But basically, it's just RuneQuest, except rounded to 5.
Yep.
There's some other shit that's way different about it, but ultimately, you roll versus a number, and if you roll under it, yay!
So Cody has undone my chill. I was very, very excited to be running D&D 2024 to try it out, and I still will, and I'll make the effort. But man, since he brought Dragonbane to the table, I'm like, fuck D&D. D&D can go fuck itself. That's all I'm saying.
I have been telling people for the longest time that Free League is the best game company out there right now.
Boy.
They
Of all the boys.
It's like they just can't do anything bad. It's like every game I've bought from them has been good. Like something I would play or run. Free League's killing it, man.
Yeah, but they're getting too deep into the IP stuff now. They need to go back to not doing so much IP work.
Yeah. Well, what they've done too is picked up IPs that other companies had but failed with. Because the One Ring used to be Cubicle 7.
Yeah.
And then somehow it went to Free League, and Free League knocked it out the park.
Well, they just hired the same team, right? Like all the guys who worked on One Ring are the same guys who worked on Adventures in Middle Earth, right? Which is still the best D&D 5e version ever.
They have the D&D version, and you can get either from them.
Throw the link up, man. Maybe Cody will join us. That'd be cool if Cody did. We could talk Dragonbane for a bit.
Yeah.
Ooh, excuse me.
Anderson. Hello, Mr. Anderson. When's your Thanksgiving coming? When is that?
Let's see. It is the Thursday after this one, the 28th.
Yeah. It's like the last Thursday of November.
And I might actually get the following Friday off and have a 4-day weekend. I'd be most stoked about. Of course, I'm paying for it by working 2 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah.
They give away nothing for free there.
Yeah. The one nice thing about Canada is we have statutory holidays. Like you are getting this day off, and they have to pay you for it.
Yeah.
And if you work, you get time and a half.
The only official days we get off are Christmas and Thanksgiving. because we're food supply. So
You work at a chicken place, don't you? Like Tyson or something?
Pilgrim.
Pilgrim. Oh, well. Fair enough.
Well, as a firefighter, I got no days off. So, it made sense. Except I worked like every Christmas because I was the new guy for like the first 3 years. So even if Christmas wouldn't be on my shift, they would move me around so that it would be. But I didn't complain because that's just how it is. You know what I mean? So I worked every holiday. But sometimes the holiday's not bad because sometimes, like if you're at Station 32, the old people that live next door, there's like a 55 plus place there, and they would bring the station Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, that's nice.
55 plus? Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
But they would bring us Thanksgiving because they made for everyone there to eat in their bingo hall or whatever, and then they would bring us turkey stuffing, all that stuff. So, and a lot of times you don't get a lot of calls on the holidays because a lot of people who would normally call you for some bullshit, they're not going to do that on Christmas, because they don't want to miss Christmas, right? So you might run 1 or 2 calls on a Thanksgiving or a Christmas, and it'll be a serious call. But the rest of the day, you're chilling in the day room with the boys, eating Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, watching, Frosty Snowman or some bullshit. So it's not horrible. So I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. It's not the worst, Now, when I was in the water department, I swear we got like 20 paid days off a year because it was a government job, and it was like everything's a paid day off. It's like, it's freaking National Ostrich Day, paid day off, and you got MLK Day, and you got like Veterans Day, and like every day, that's a holiday we got off because that's just how most government jobs are. We got all the bank holidays off, but in the fire department, you get no guaranteed days off ever. There's just no guaranteed day off.
Nothing is allowed to burn today.
Yep, because the nature of the job, you know what I mean? So not a complaint, but that is just how it is. And it's all right. It's good. It's all good in the hood. Yeah, having to rescue drunk Santa from like a big palm tree, call out the ladder truck because it's got like the 75-foot ladder on it.
There was
we had a big ladder truck with 75-foot ladder, but the tallest building in the city is 3 stories. So it's like, like my subdivision where I'm responsible for, not Orlando, is 3 stories. Like if you're downtown Orlando, they got buildings down there. They're like 50 stories plus, Like the Bank of America down there is 27 stories because we used to run it on air and gear. They have the back staircase, and it's like this until you get to like 21, and then they call that the stairway to heaven because from 21 to 27 it's just straight
up.
and and there's windows so you can like look down on Orange Avenue and all that. Man, I'll tell you what, by the time you get your gear on and go on air and do that, you are worn the F out.
No shit.
So I'm kind of glad I never got hired by Orlando FD or freaking Osceola County or Orange County, one of those places where you have to be expected to put a fire out on the 25th floor, something. Nah, I'm down here. Everything's basically, single family homes or duplexes. And the tallest building is the city hall, and that's only 3 stories, but we did set the ladder truck up, and we'd have to climb up the ladder and jump into the bucket and then jump out of the bucket onto the roof.
I would
The
not be happy
training.
with that. I do not like heights.
Well, that's how I got almost killed, was training. And almost all the guys I know who got put out for injuries, it was always during training, like 75%. Because you do stupider shit during training than you do during a real call. You know what I mean? Like during a real fire call, you don't do stupid ass shit. You do what you need to do, right? But then you do stupid training like we're going to climb a 30-foot tower. And then you're going to fall off of it and, you know, destroy your shoulder and neck and everything. And of
Yeah, I
course,
remember the high day.
because there was like 20 people standing there watching, and I was on duty. So it's like, yep, you know, there's no fighting this guy over it because Italian chiefs were standing there. Everybody was there. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what got me the rappelling day in basic. It's like I was like really nervous. Then I thought about it, I was like, yeah, my fear of publicly humiliating myself is greater than my fear of dying. So I'm just gonna suck it up, not scream.
We all
So
remember
James,
that day.
you'll like this, James. Where I grew up, there was a house on fire. The house literally sat on the county line between the two counties. The fire department from one county showed up, the fire department from the other county showed up, and then both of them were told by their dispatch, no, it's the other county's problem. So 2 full fire trucks had to sit there and watch a house burn to the ground because they weren't allowed to go in. That's crazy, eh? Can you imagine, Buck?
That has happened in America. There's a story about it happening in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah?
But here where I live, we have a mutual response agreement with the neighboring fire departments.
That's fair.
So if anything's on the line, we just both show up and do it.
Yeah.
And then if we catch a fire that might be a little bit more than we want to handle, they'll come in and back us up, and vice versa.
Okay.
But usually it's us backing them up because we're an ISO 1 and they're like an ISO 3. And which means our department is as high ranked as you can be. And they're kind of hanging out in the middle there because it's all based on response times, the gear you have, and the amount of training hours you log. And our department, we had top of the line gear. Our response time was 5 minutes or less. And we trained like if it wasn't a holiday, a Sunday, you were training. If you weren't running a call, you were training for something. And so yeah, we had a very high ISO. Plus we transport to the hospital, and a lot of fire departments don't do that. They'll show up and stabilize the patient and wait for the hospital's ambulance to arrive. Sure. Whereas we'll throw that joker right in the back of our rescue and haul ass. You know, we ain't waiting for nobody.
You remember the show from the 70s, Emergency?
Oh, yeah. I used to watch
that show.
as a kid.
Yeah. I used to love that show when I was a kid, man.
They were the first two.
That's
based on the first 2 paramedics ever.
Really?
Because there was a time when there were no paramedics. And this doctor, I think his name was Nadler, he was the guy who was like, hey, what if I trained guys to do these jobs and then they worked under my license, right? And they're like, okay, we're going to give you a couple of guys and we're going to see how this works, right? Yeah. And then they tried it out and it ended up saving a lot of lives.
Yeah.
Because you had these guys there that could do some interventions to save people's lives, right? So it was such a success that now everywhere it is.
Oh, yeah. I have a friend who does, he's with the Urgence Santé here in Quebec, and he wound up getting stationed up north. So he's like, this is like the best job ever. I'm like, wow. He goes, dude, we get called once a week, you know, like, that's it, you know. Whereas my friend's in Vancouver, she's working crazy. Like she's, you know, but she loves that. So it's good for her.
Yeah. Some people don't want to, I mean, I was always the guy that said I trained and took this job because I wanted to do stuff. I didn't want to sit in a day room all day doing nothing, getting fat, watching TV. I wanted to run calls. So I never complained about running calls because
Yeah.
You know, but in the old days, transporting the whatever, that was Department of Transportation, and they would literally send from the where you getting bombed, the funeral homes would
Yeah,
send
Hearst.
their vehicles to pick up people if
A
the
Hearst.
hospital didn't have their own ambulance, you know, thing. That's why in the show you're talking about, a lot of times the paramedics call the hospital and the doctor picks up the radio and tells them what to do.
So they would send
You know?
a hearse for an injured person?
Or cops would have to do it or whatever, but the fire
I'm not
department
dead
did not-
yet.
Do you remember the station wagon ambulances?
Oh,
we
yeah.
had one. They're a pain in the ass too, because the whole time you're working on the patient, you're crunched over but we had one. But it was out of service by the time I got there. But we still had to do training and wash it and take care of it and do inventory because they were using it for like water recovery vehicles. So they kept all the tanks and the scuba gear and everything in the back of that thing.
Mm.
But we had these big freaking diesel trucks. They were gigantic. And that was the rescue with a big box on the back.
Dude,
And then,
Montreal had Mack truck ambulances for a long time.
Yeah, that's what
Like,
I'm talking about.
We had those here. Those things were beasts, and they're bright yellow here. So it was just like, you saw that thing fucking coming down the road. Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, we
Ours
have one
were
here.
red
I've
and
seen it
white.
driving around a few times. Big
Mostly
house.
red, but with a white stripe and then the station number and the city. And they were international diesels. They were gigantic. But then they got rid of them and they went to like Ford F-250s,
Yeah.
but with the same box on the back. And everyone loves it because an F-250, man, you can get that thing basically anywhere. But when you're driving that big international and you're cranking it around and you got to worry about air brakes and shit like that, that's, a whole thing. The Fords are way better for the crews. They're just way better. Plus, it turns out if one breaks down, you can just take it to the nearest Ford dealership.
Yeah.
And they can have that thing fixed in no time, But if the internationals broke down, it had to be drug up to frickin' Orlando, the ass end of Orlando, because that's the only place they had that worked on them, And there was some kind of rule where we had to take it there. Now, all of our engines were Pierce. And they were all over engine. The cabs were all flat over engine, And so when you turn them, it feels weird the first couple times because you're in front of the front wheel. So instead of turning, it feels like you're swinging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you could look down and see the front bumper. So that was good, And once a year, you would have to do a driving test with the engine and the rescue. They'd set up a course and you have to go through the freaking cones and go around, and then you'd have to park. And when you backed in to park, you had to be within a foot of the cone. But if you hit the cone, that was a fail. And if you were more than a foot away from the cone, that was a fail. And that was supposed to represent backing into the dock at a hospital or something. So whatever. You go do it, you get signed off, you keep rolling, Like I told you, we had a maze we had to do. And since I was the new guy, every time you're supposed to always do the maze with a partner. Well, anyone who didn't have a partner, they always picked me to be the partner. So during my second or third year, I did the maze 12 times. You're only supposed to do it once. And now they don't even do it at all. But I did that maze 12 freaking times. And that's you get on full air and everything. They put you in a door, close the door, which seals completely, pitch black. And you have to crawl through all this bullshit upstairs and downstairs and through a tunnel with wires all through it. I mean, think of the worst shit ever. pitch black on air, and there's someone following you with night vision, fucking with you while you're doing it, like putting wires in your way or trying to wrap your tank up and shit like that, and you have to do it on the tank of air, which I can last 18 minutes on tank of air.
Oh,
But-
it only lasts that long? I thought it was like a scuba tank where it lasted like.
It is a scuba tank, 18 minutes while you're working your ass off. That's good. I mean, that's not like drifting through the ocean, kind of being like, oh, look, nice. No, you're busting ass. You're climbing stairs. You're falling down shit, you know? And the only light you have is the lights on the inside of your SCBA, which go green, yellow, red to let you know your air's running out. And you've got an alarm on your chest. If you start running out of air, it starts meh, real loud, right? Well, that's a fail. You got to get through before you run out of air. And one time they tried to tie me up in the wires, but I had a Klein tool in the front pocket of my bunker jacket. And I just opened that shit up, pulled my Klein out and started cutting wires. And then the chief started yelling at me. He's like, Chief, stop cutting my wires. And I'm like, well, stop wrapping them around me then, and we'll both be happy. And he started laughing. He's like, fine. And then I low crawled through. And there's a part where it's so low, you got to take your SCB off, slide it around so that it's like in front of you, and then crawl about 8 feet through this area that I kid you not, it's like a foot, maybe foot and a half. And you got to kind of push the tank in front of you and crawl behind it to get to the other side. And then you've got to put the pack back on and then keep going. And then eventually you'll get to a door and push it in sunlight. And you'll be like, yay. Yeah, I did that 12 times 1 year.
Oof.
Yeah, like the
I
chief
started to
who
answer
ran
your
the thing,
question,
he
but
started
what
being
happened-
like, does your department hate you? And I'm like, no, I'm the new guy. So every time these idiots called out sick, so they missed going to the maze when they should have, when they come in on a shift, guess what? Going to the fucking maze. Because a lot of guys would call out because they're claustrophobic. And they would still have to do it. But eventually the department or somebody ruled that it was a stupid thing and there was no reason to do it. And it had nothing to do with our job at all. It was just stupid. So then they just stopped doing it. But not before I did it at least 20 times. You know, I mean, I did that maze more than people who did 20 years and retired from the department. It was like crazy, you know, but that was my life. My first year, I didn't have a station. I would show up at the station that they told me to show up at, and then they'd tell me what station I'd actually be working in, which meant I didn't have a locker. I didn't have anything. I carried all my gear around in a big red bag that said, you know, fire department, like everything, my SCBA, my uniform, like everything. And I'd show up and I'd be like, am I here today? And they'd look on the schedule and be like, no, you're at the other station. So then I'd have to throw that in the back of my Fiat and drive to the other station and then work there. I mean, so that first year I was bouncing all over the place because they call it floating. You're the floater. So, you know, so, but it was good. I loved it. You know, I learned to stand up for myself. There were a couple guys that wanted to bully me, and eventually I told them I'd beat their ass if they kept running their mouth. And that put them in check. There's one lieutenant that liked to F with everybody. We were in the union hall, and the rules in the union hall is there are no ranks in the union hall, right? He started running his mouth in the union hall, and I snatched his little ass up because he was about 5'6". And I was like, I will hit you so hard that your eyes get further apart than they are. And everybody kind of jumped in, but that lieutenant never effed with me again. And after he retired, his wife divorced him and took half of his pension and fucked him over real bad. And he deserved it because he was one of those guys that was constantly cheating on his wife and, you know, being a douchebag. So, like, I mean, maybe I should have had some pity for him, but I didn't. Because I knew, yeah, the badge. That badge will get you pussy. But if you're married, you made an oath. So, you know, even though some hot 20-ish year old girl is throwing her phone number at you, willing to give you some completely attachment free booty, you still don't do it because you're married, right? And you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree. But that's how I thought. I was like, I've got a wife at home. I'm a Christian man now. Yeah, sure, these women are willing to do all the crazy shit, but I'm not doing it, you know, because not saying I'm better than anyone else, just I made that decision. Some guys didn't. And a lot of the guys that didn't make that decision, it's like their wife was hanging out that last 5 years like a jaded cop. You know what I mean? She knew, just hang until he retires and I'm going to get half his shit forever. And that's what happened to a lot of them. And it's just like, well, you knew, you had to know. If you're going to cheat on your wife 50 times, eventually she is going to figure it out, you know. And then some of them had open marriages. So those dudes, they were running wild in the streets. But then their wife was banging like other firefighters on other shifts and shit like that. So, you know, this guy would be, say, on B shift. He'd be showing up at the station on B shift. The dude on A shift who just got off would be driving to his house, you know, to nail his wife first thing in the morning before.
There was a lot of that shit in the Army, I remember.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that in the Army. Yeah. Like we had the 3 brigades at Fort Stewart. I was in 1st Brigade, which was all the combat brigades. 2nd Brigade was combat brigades. 3rd Brigade was all the non-combat guys. But like if 1st or 3rd Brigade were out in the field on exercises and we went to the E Club, that place would be packed to pack, wall to wall of just ass. You know what I'm saying? Just like, you know, wiggle room only. When you want to walk somewhere, you'd be like squeezed in between women because it was all of their wives in the E Club because they were out in the field. And obviously, always there was a few fat Koreans that would always be there, you know. Dependents, yeah. What they call them, dependopotamuses or something like that. Like the chicks that are just waiting for you to knock them up so that they can be your dependent. It's like, do not marry a nurse. If she works in the ER, do not marry her. If she works anywhere else in the hospital, she's probably a good girl.
Nurses have a 30% higher rate of promiscuity and cheating than any other female profession.
And that is almost, I'm willing to bet you 100% the ER nurses. Because every ER nurse I've ever seen has gotten it on with at least 1 to 7 firefighters I work with. And the other bunch that are super promiscuous is dispatch. The ladies that work for the police department and dispatch, they were all getting ran through by the fire department. Every one of them, not the cops. And guess who else was super promiscuous? Female cops. And you know who they were sleeping with? The fire department. So some of the male cops would have a little bit, they'd be a little salty about that shit. And we'd fuck with them about it, you know, when we'd see them on, like we'd be on scene with the cops and they'd be looking at us and we'd be like, just think, bro, if you'd studied a little harder, you could have been a firefighter. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Because police academy is like half what fire academy and paramedic school is. I mean, so we just F with them. Like, yeah, talk shit. You ever notice every time you show up, no one's happy to see you, but when we show up, they all are happy to see us, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's just a job, I guess." Like, yeah, I guess you're a paid asshole. You know, it's like no one likes you, but everyone loves us. Like, you ain't ever heard anyone anywhere say we need to defund the fire department. You ever heard that? No. Even the most communist bastards on the planet are not screaming defund the firefighting. It's like, you know, because everyone loved us, and that's part of the joy of the job, man. having a job where everyone loves you and you're not an asshole. You don't have to pull anyone over. You don't have to read them the riot act. You don't have to take them to jail. None of that shit. You're just a friendly guy that's there to help. Right? Right. But I mean, I could talk, I'm talking too much. But I guess Cody was just bouncing in. He does that. He'll bounce in, say hi, give me a thumbs up. And
Hey, did you know that the Romanians, even though they're Orthodox, they do Christmas on December 25th?
some people do. Yeah, some people do. They're like the only Orthodox country that isn't Slavic. Even though some of them say they're Slavic, but they speak a Romance language.
It's usually it's in January, isn't it? On your guys' thing?
January 8th or
Yeah,
7th. Some years.
It's right after the Catholic Old Christmas, which is January 6th. So once that passes, then the Orthodox has theirs usually within a day or two.
Yeah, it's
So it's like President's Day.
Kind of having.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, first of all, Romanians aren't Slavs, right? There's Slavic blood in them, but they're not Slavs. They don't speak Slavic languages. They speak Latin, essentially, with a Slavic accent.
Yeah, it's basically the closest to what the Romans spoke, still being spoke. And Poland is a Slavic country, 100%, that speaks a Slavic language, but they're Roman Catholic. So Poland is the Slavic country that went Roman Catholic, and Romania is the not Slavic country that went Orthodox. It's kind of wild, you know what I mean?
Was there
But
like an
I mean, when you get
off-season
into the
trade?
Balkans, it's crazy anyway. Like, as soon as you're talking about any country in the Balkans, whether it's Croatia, Serbia, it doesn't matter. It's going to be some weird ass shit. And they all hate each other.
Boy, do they ever.
Yeah. The way it's very common in Serbia to hear them refer to Macedonians as monkeys or hairy apes. And they just absolutely despise Albanians.
The only thing all of them agree on in the former Yugoslavia and in the Balkans is how much they hate Turks.
Yeah, they all hate Turks, except the Albanians who are Turks.
Yeah, wow.
And Serbia's best friend is Greece. The Greeks and the Serbians love each other. And the Serbians think that they're little Russia. So
you watch Living Unironically in Europe's video about Serbia.
Yeah, he explains how it all works.
So well, like he does it so fucking well.
Well,
you know,
he lives there.
Well, he is Balkan, right? He's a Serb, you know. And
yeah, he lives in the region.
He's lived in Romania. I think he's in Romania right now. He's lived in Bosnia. He's lived in Germany. You know, the guy's lived all over, and he's fun to watch. He's just the way he goes is really
well. He's like this super friendly guy, and he's got friends from everywhere.
Yeah,
regardless of whether they're Bosnian or whatever, he just makes friends. But he's Serbian, and he has observed the way it's like they're all brothers, but they all hate each other. You know, and he says you cannot be in Serbia and mention Kosovo without hearing someone scream Kosovo is Serbia, because that's a sore spot for the Serbs, boy. I mean, they're still like, that's still an issue in that region, Kosovo. Even though it's like, I don't know, 90% Muslim. But that 10% of Serbians are like, fuck you guys, this is ours. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, and of course the Croatians, they're the best at committing war crimes, and the Serbs never forget it. You know,
are you going to take that, Bear?
Yeah,
challenging your war crime status.
Well, during World War II, the Croatians sided with the Central or the bad guy powers.
The Axis.
And the shit they pulled in Serbia was truly horrific.
Well,
I will always and forever be proud of my Danish heritage, just for how the Danes handled the Jewish question, which
We are all Danes.
They were told, hand over your Jews. We're all Danes. Hand over your Jews, or we're going to invade you. All right, cool. We'll have them to you by next Friday. All right, acceptable. All right, let's get all the Jews on boats to Sweden now. And they just basically in a week sent all their Jews to Sweden. We looked, we couldn't find any. Sorry, like now that. I like that. But that's the difference, the Danish Viking from the Swedish Viking from the Norwegian Viking, right? The Norwegian Viking is the one you send when you want to absolutely kill every last motherfucker in that fucking monastery. You send the Norwegians. The Swedes, they're dirty geets. You never know whose side. Are they on our side this time? Are they on the other guy's side? We don't know what the fuck they're doing. The Danes, no, this killing and stuff is great, but how can we really, really monetize it? How can we organize it?
It's like the Danes invented taxation.
Yeah.
They're like, instead of raiding them and getting all their gold all at once, what if we just took a little bit of their gold once a year, but for like ever?
And they'll give it to us because they know if they
they'll
don't,
get it to us. No one has
we'll
to
send
die.
the Norwegians in.
Right? And that's pretty much what they did throughout Northern Europe.
Yeah.
They just taxed everybody, and hey, that's cool. But yeah, King Christian walked out with a yellow star attached to his uniform, the King of Denmark, and said, "There are no Jews here. There are only Danes."
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Hitler didn't want a problem with Denmark because he loved them. Because he's like, these are our brothers, Dusha ni mashno bit rabum. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but I think I said it mostly correctly. Dusha ni mashno like bit rabum. Rabum. What is that? Yeah, my dog speaks Russian way better than I do, not your Echo. Like, I'll look up Russian words that would matter to a dog, and he understands them. But like I said, we bought him from a person who had immigrated from Russia. So, like, if I'm in the yard and I want him to come with me, I can be like, "Davai," and he'll come running because he knows that's come on or come, and I can curse in Russian really well, but I blame that on my dad and Counter-Strike. Playing a lot of Counter-Strike. You learn how to curse in Russian pretty quick in Counter-Strike. Suka bliat.
So is Dusha name as a bit reborn Russian?
It looks Russian. But it could be some other Slavic language. I mean, like I said, I don't know.
Oh, no, Russian says it is Russian. The soul is not meant to be a slave.
I believe that. Kind of. As the one guy said in Viking, and as I said to somebody on Twitter the other day, I am a slave to God, which means I cannot be a slave to any man. So, one of the good guys in the Viking movie with Vladimir was a Christian Viking. Like, he was such a good guy, you know what I mean? In the story, and he really impressed Vladimir, who was still pagan. But he had this chain he wore around his neck and with this cross, and Vladimir asked him about it. And he said, "This signifies that I'm a slave to God, but therefore I will never be a slave to any man." And Vladimir was like super impressed by that. He was like, "That's hardcore." You know what I mean? And then that dude went out with a small group of volunteers and basically fought the whole Pinacheg horde with just, maybe 20 guys. And they all were like, "We're going to die," but they didn't. They lived through it. So it was practically a miracle,
Or a sabotage zone.
But yeah, that guy who had taken
or the Russian habit of telling bigger and bigger stories as the drunker and drunker they get.
Well, yeah, every culture has their stories, and they do get bigger as time goes on. But that's okay, though.
Murder
that's
inflation.
okay.
So I was present for one of those events one time. We had this fight at this bar I worked at. There's going to be 10 guys, 5 bouncers. So we're 2-1. It was a hell of a good fight. And then I'm at a party like a month later. My buddy who's there is like, so there was like 25 guys, and there was only like 4 of us. And I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake. You know, like, here we go. If this keeps going, by next year, it'll be there were 100 guys and just him, you know? Like, fuck.
Antioch Orthodox Archdiocese of North America. Nice, Patrick. You do it 25th. Yeah, I need to start going to church again, like but ostensibly I'm Roquart, the Church of Saint Sophia, so Russian Orthodox, and it's still like in January for us. But I mean, I don't know that it really actually matters. I'd have to, hear a priest, someone who's actually went to college for like 12 years or something and studied and speaks ancient Greek and Aramaic and all that shit. Because, I mean, I barely speak English, so. The first Viking Christian king, Olaf Tryggvason. Interesting point in history. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Once Christianity started spreading north from Byzantium in the east, it like jumped into Scandinavia like crazy style. And,
One of my
and
favorites.
Poles were already doing it.
One of my favorite stories about the when they first tried to Christianize the Vikings. They initially were like, oh, okay, cool. But what they did is they just adopted Jesus and like put him in the pantheon. So he's like running around with like Thor and shit. There's this story about him like Thor tried to start a fight with him, and eventually they come back to see how it's going, and they're like, no, this is not what we
that
meant."
happened a lot. There are
the
many
Hindus did it.
cultures existing even today that just took Christ and kind of slipped him right into their pantheon belief.
Hinduism. He exists in Hinduism.
And also the voodoo guys. Jesus is a figure in voodoo, but so is the Baron Samedi and all the spirits and all that shit too. So
So for a guy who likes to overpronounce certain words, I'm going to correct you on this one because I've seen you correct pronunciations before. Samedi.
okay,
Baron Samedi. And that's if you're saying it like Creole, right? If you're saying it in pure French, it'd be Baron Samedi. But if you're saying it Creole, it's Baron Samedi.
I appreciate the education. I'm going to call him the Kentucky way. Baron
Well,
Samedi.
because no, what's that one you keep correcting everybody on? There's a pronunciation.
Bruja.
Bruja. You fucking go up and down the wall on Bruja. So I'm going to actually correct you on a real word.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I'm not even being crazy about Bruja. It says clearly in the first edition book, under the pronunciation, it's pronounced Bruja.
Point missed.
Oh, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mispronounce words all the time because if I've only read them and never heard them, like I remember getting corrected and I was embarrassed for saying Marcel's or something like that. And this woman was like, do you mean the Marseille? And I'm like, is that how it's said? And she's like, yes. And I was like, okay. And I was like 25 or 30. But I'd never heard Marseille ever said out loud. But I'd read about it, obviously. And the Versailles, I thought was like the Versailles or something like that,
Well,
the French are weird.
It's like Camarilla. Everybody says Camarilla. It's like Camarilla. There's
Camarilla.
2 L's. It's Camarilla,
Yeah.
Or when you hear these people like talk about La Llorona, they're like, La Llorona. You're just like, Once you know how to pronounce a word, it hurts your ears to hear it mistaken.
Well, you're bilingual, though.
Yes.
And I'm barely unilingual.
This is fair.
So cut me a break, bro. I'm still learning English.
Well, hence why I'm giving you a proper pronunciation of Baron Samedi.
And I appreciate it. So it's Baron Samedi.
So Samedi means Saturday, right? That's the word for Saturday. So it's Baron Saturday. But with the way the Creoles say it is they don't say it like French. They don't say samedi. They say samedi because there's an E in the middle. So they say samedi, right? And then when you get down to the southern states, they say Baron Samedi. They just drop it all down to
They drop
Samedi.
that E and go Samedi.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the Creole, they do have a tendency.
I got a
just
vote, guys. I hear dinner's going on.
drop the E.
Dinner's going on.
All right.
Dinner's going on.
All right,
Crazy Doc. I think he's going to wrap up
We're going to
here.
wrap up anyway.
Yeah, I will catch you guys later. Later,
It's
all in
about
Jack.
that time.
Well, it was a hoot, sir, as always.
A hoot and a holler.
Hey, a hoot in the holler.
A hoot in the holler. Well, I don't know about that. If you hear a hoot in the holler, you need to get out of there.
It depends. Might be a nice hoot nanny.
You don't want to be around anywhere where the owls are hooting while the sun is up.
The owls are not as they appear.
I know that. I know that. Isn't that Twin Peaks
peace,
or
man.
some shit like that?
We'll see you later, man. Take care.
See
Bye,
ya.
everybody who watched us.
Yes. All right. So yeah, all you guys who hung out, thank you. We're taking out. I'm taking off and going enjoying my Monday. The Balkans are washed in blood. Yeah, that whole place. I'm going to read your things. So, on the subject of mispronunciation, is it rack another Ducci or wrapped up like a blinded by the light? Wrapped up like a douche in the middle of the night. I get you. I have no idea what that guy is saying, but I did like the song. And cheers to you, Off Grid. Have fun. Owls are hooting here, or where I'm at in the forest during the day. That's not good. But then again, I'm a superstitious hillbilly. Good night to you, Prime. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and the rest of your week. And yeah, God bless you all. Peace and love. And yes, I thought about doing the braid down the one side, and I'm pretty sure my wife would have killed me. But I thought about it. Gems. Same to you, not your echoes. I'm assuming you're saying like have a good night or something. Like I said, my Russian sucks. It's mostly like curse words. Suka bliat and ruski koi. Yup for your mom. And you know, I probably speak more Yiddish than I do Russian because of, yeah. But anyway, I do love the Russian language, but it's not an easy language to learn. But peace and love, yeah.